Wondery Plus subscribers can listen to Crime and Sports early and ad-free right now. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.
In the depths of an Atlanta forest, a clash between activists and authorities ends in tragedy. I'm Matthew Scher, and on my new podcast, We Came to the Forest, we expose the hidden truths behind a shootout that left one activist dead and countless lives forever changed. Binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest ad-free on Wondery Plus.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Crime and Sports.
Yay!
Oh, yay indeed, Jimmy. Yay indeed. My name is James Pietragallo. I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Jimmie Whisman.
Thank you, folks, so much for joining us today on another really wild, of course, edition of Crime and Sports. We are going to continue with Evel Knievel today.
Oh, we've missed him.
We've missed him. And the first part, he's not even famous yet. He's not doing, but he's played sports and he's been in crime. But it's been all crazy. He's already been in accidents and
breaking the law. Yeah.
He's breaking the law like crazy. But we will get to it.
Breaking his legs. He's a bad man.
We'll get to him making his wife do stoop labor here this episode in a minute. Yeah, he's a terrible man, too. Just a bad guy. We'll talk all about it in a second. First of all, shutupandgivememurder.com. You should head over there. Get your tickets for live shows for Small Town Murder.
Here we go.
We just finished up our first weekend. Phenomenal stuff, and we cannot wait. Next up is St. Louis and Chicago in May, and we're jacked for that. Get your tickets to all the shows right now. Shutupandgivememurder.com. Also, all the merchandise, all the info, all the stuff you could possibly want. Get it right there and do it now. Also, listen to Small Town Murder, listen to your stupid opinions.
Oh, yeah.
And get Patreon, most of all.
There you go.
Patreon.com/crimeinsports, just like the name of this show.
Right.
That will get you, anybody $5 a month or above, immediate access to hundreds of bonus episodes you've never heard before. Hundreds and hundreds. Lots of them on there. And then you get new ones every other week. One Crime and Sports, one Small Town Murder. We give them all. Just take it. Here, take it. Walk out the door for the low, low price of $5. And this week, what you're going to get for Crime and Sports, it's a disaster potpourri. Oh, we've done industrial disasters and hot air ballooning disasters and all this, and amusement park disasters. It's a nice disaster potpourri this week. Terrible things happening.
Will be maimed.
It's going to be lots of maiming, people walking around with less limbs than they had when the show started. So that'll be fun. Then for Small Town Murder, we're going to talk about when psychics actually did their jobs and
unbelievable
predicted something. Normally we do a lot of debunking, so this will be like a kind of, hey, maybe it worked. By the end of it might end up being that, actually they found out this way and that way and had nothing to do with it. You never know. We'll find out. We'll explore the world of psychics finding bodies and such.
Great.
That is patreon.com/crimeinsports is where you get all of that. That said, I think it's time to, you get a shout out at the end of the show.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
That's important stuff. That said, I think it's time to dive back into Evel here.
Here we go.
This lunatic. Let's see here. When we last left off, this was him trying to be a daredevil at first.
Right.
It's his first.
The snake box and the
snake box.
Bobcats that hit under the ramp.
Oh my God! The thought of these snakes going into the crowd and the way they described the crowd just like running away, it's so funny. Like you couldn't get a worse scenario of like there goes the box, here comes the snakes.
A heavy dirt bike hitting the edge of a box is gonna just throw it Throw spaghetti from a colander. That's what will happen.
But a spaghetti that bites.
Venomous spaghetti.
Poisonous spaghetti. Throw that into the crowd. That is going to be horrifying. So nowadays here, the guy he was working with in that, he took off to work on his master's degree in California. He decided he'd had enough working with Evel Knievel here.
Sure.
So Evel tried to work a deal to buy the motorcycle dealership. That's what he was trying to do, because we left off. He was trying to figure out a motorcycle dealership deal to work with. And he offered half of this deal to a guy named Ray Gunn, who we talked about, or it was a guy named another rider at the track here. And this guy said no, he didn't want to do it. And he said, quote, "It didn't sound like a bad deal. Not a lot of money was involved, but I knew how it would all work. I'd do all the work. He'd spend all the money." I knew Evel well enough to stay out of that.
Yeah.
That's how everyone feels about Evil, unless you're mesmerized. If you know him, you're not going to give him money. That's crazy, obviously.
And the snake jump, whoever financed and gave him money for that didn't get paid for that.
No, nothing. So Evil never has money. That's the thing. He's living south of Moses Lake with the dealership, doing all that kind of shit, trying to sell motorcycles. One resident of Moses Lake remembered when Evil was, quote, so poor he didn't have a cracker in the cupboard for his kids. A cracker. Then the IRS started looking at the dealership, too. So now it's getting worse here. And it's not good at all. And then he needed money at this point, obviously. He's got this trying to sell Hondas, and he's doing all this shit. So what he does is turns into what the book describes as a one-man local crime spree.
Okay.
He has no stranger to burglary, as we know.
That's gonna steal it.
That's his jam. And there was a ton of robberies everywhere. And this Lake Moses isn't a big place, or Moses Lake. It's not a big place.
It's Montana, right?
I think that's Washington, eastern Washington.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
So it's not a big place. So it's not like if a guy comes to town and then a whole bunch of crime happens.
It's probably that guy.
Look at him first. You know what I mean? That's what they're looking at here, especially if he goes by the name Evil. Maybe check him out. I guess he was the first suspect and the only suspect in a shitload of robberies.
Uh-oh.
The only guy they looked at, but they could never catch him in the act.
Oh.
And so they could never catch him doing it. He's pretty slick. That's one thing about Evil here. His friend, the guy who didn't want to go into business with him, said he was always doing these little criminal extracurricular activities. He robbed a lot of places, burglarized, whatever you want to call it.
He's always doing these crimes. That's a lot that's polysyllabic shit for saying crime.
Yeah, a little too wordy for crime. Criminal extracurricular activities. It makes it sound like, well, that's nice. It's good for a kid to play sports. That's what it makes it sound. It's good that he's in band. He'll meet the other kids and he'll
not a linebacker.
Get some confidence.
Breaking and robbing.
This is crazy. He robbed, whatever you want to call it. Crime is what we want to call it. Finally, the guy he was working with at the dealership, Daryl Tribber, he ended the arrangement at the dealership. Basically, the numbers never added up correctly, because it's Evel Knievel. So
embezzling and stealing and shit.
Yeah, and he thought about Evel. He said he was a great salesman. That's the thing. I mean, we found out from selling the insurance, he can
move shit.
He's a salesman. I mean, he can do that, and he's an engaging character, and people would like to come there and talk to him, but he doesn't put the money where it's supposed to at the end of the day, so it really doesn't matter. The guy said he didn't pursue the problem with the cops or anything like that. He just ended the relationship.
Right.
He just ended it. So the Moses Lake Honda dealership closed, and then Evel went to Sunnyside, Washington, to work for a guy named Don Pomeroy at his motorcycle shop.
Okay.
So this doesn't seem like this guy's going to be world famous in 10 years or 6 years or whatever at this point.
And anytime ever.
Anytime ever. It seems like he's going to be a dirtbag who lives in a trailer and beats his kids. That's what he...
Or
That's
anybody
what it
else
seems like.
near him. Yeah.
Yeah. So he takes his family back to Butte.
Yeah.
And he tried to sell insurance again, the same combined insurance that he was doing, but he didn't have it in him anymore. He wanted to do the motorcycle thing. He thought he got a taste of that, I think.
Sure.
When you get a taste from comedians who go on stage, when you get a taste of admiration from a live crowd, it's a weird drug that is, especially if that's the way your brain works. Oh, man, it is a tough drug to shake.
That again. Yeah.
Tough drug to shake. That's why you see 70-year-old men who are wealthy enough to not have to be on stage. That's why.
They're still doing it.
They need it for some reason. It's strange. So he tries to do this. Another writer from Washington, that's the Don Pomeroy guy, offers him a chance to sell Yamaha motorcycles in Sunnyside, Washington.
Yeah,
which is
Hondas didn't work out, so it's definitely the brand.
It's got to be it's not Evil, obviously. It's about 100 miles south of Moses Lake, this place. So he says, fuck it, we're going. Let's do this. And this is how Evil works, by the way.
Okay.
He tells the wife, pack up, we're leaving.
Yeah.
Not, what do you think about moving here?
Where do you want to go?
Doesn't matter. Follow. Okay. Let's fucking go here. The way the book quotes it is, wife came second, kids came third.
Jesus.
Period. Don't give a shit about them.
Yeah.
Got to do my thing.
We can make new ones.
That's it. So they move into a trailer in Sunnyside, Washington.
Goddamn.
Sounds attractive here. Linda.
I bet that's an ironic name.
It's Eastern Washington, so it's sunny out there.
So there is sunny, all right.
It's sunny over there. Yeah, it's shit over there. It's not like not the majestic mountains or anything like that.
That's why he's familiar with the Snake River, isn't it? It's
he's
close to it.
Yeah. Idaho, Montana, all this. Yep. This is where he's all kind of spent all of his time, and this is where he's the most comfortable. His wife here has to get a real fucking job.
Yeah.
And this is a hard job here. The guy he's working with, the Pomeroy guy, has a 7-acre asparagus farm. So Linda takes a job picking asparagus.
Wow.
Yeah. I guess it was a lot of like teenagers worked there.
Yeah.
And hard labor. So they have babysitters taking care of the kids, and Evel's selling motorcycles, and she's doing stoop labor. So
is that like to pick asparagus? It's just like snapping it, yeah?
I think, but it's down on the ground. You have to bend down.
Do they grow in stalks like they pack them? I don't even know.
I think they grow in stalks.
Shit on a bush?
They used to hang asparagus stalks to keep flies out of places.
Oh.
That was a thing like in Pennsylvania and shit back in the day. They used to do that. Yeah, so like 1800s, 1700s. So
I guess if it grew on like a tree, it'd look like a dick tree. So that would
be
work.
Yeah, I've never an asparagus tree would be something.
Yeah, just like
I did. You saw me do that. You're like, yeah,
dicks on it.
Yeah, but they'd be like leaning over because they're long. Yeah, it'd be like the Dick Museum on fucking on
they're
your
ready
stupid
to go
opinions.
when they snap off.
Yeah, that's it. Up there, that's ready. Then you have to cut the rest off here.
They've got to grow like grass. I don't know. I've never seen it.
Oh my god. And Evil's selling this shit. Ron Pomeroy, who is one of Don Pomeroy's sons. I only name my kids shit that rhymes with me. They can't have my name, but it better rhyme, goddammit. So he said, quote, "One of my first memories is the police coming to the shop and escorting him out in handcuffs."
Taking Evel out in handcuffs? Just
from work.
In the middle of a shift.
Yeah, he's like, "Hold on a minute, I got a guy on the line about this 120, and they're like, no. It's time to go.
No, you got to go.
You got to go now.
It's going to cost me a sale, man.
Damn it. Come on. Finish up my sale. I get credit for this. I got him on the hook, goddammit, as they're dragging him out. He said, "I'd never seen anything like it. It made quite an impression on me. I still don't know what he did. I know he missed a few days' work."
Wow.
His friend Ron Hazard, who, how is he not working on in the shows?
In the team? Yeah.
Ron Hazard. He said he cashed a bad check. I bailed him out. He was in jail a couple of times.
Okay.
Police were trying to figure out a way to arrest him, but they could never figure out how to get him to how to just catch him, basically. He's good at crime.
Slippery.
He knows what the cops are looking for and avoids it. His friend, the Hazard guy, he's a bar owner, and he said he wasn't much of a drinker. He wasn't much of a pool player either, though he'd play. He'd play shuffleboard, too. He wasn't afraid to fight, I'll say that. He had more than one fight, and you didn't have to push him real hard.
How about that?
Evel fights all the time. He's just always ready to take a swing at somebody. He's fucking...
Doesn't drink, doesn't gamble.
He drinks. He drinks like a fucking fish. He's just not in the bar.
Okay. They said they never synced it.
Yeah,
he's
no,
already
he's
drunk
not
when he shows
much
up.
of a drinker type of guy. In the bar, the bar is when he's going out to show himself off and peacock. Yeah. It's not about getting drunk and having a good time.
Wow.
It's about telling everybody that he's going to go do something special. Yeah. Like later on when he decides he's going to jump the Grand Canyon, he pulls that out of his ass. He'll just go around places and just be like, stand at the bars and just be like, "So I'm going to be jumping the Grand Canyon on my motorcycle," as he's standing there. And people are like, "Huh? What the hell are you talking about?"
Talking about, old man.
Like, that's how he's trying to spread publicity, one bar at a time. It's fucking weird. So he's a good rider of motorcycles for a layman.
Okay.
Like, he'll try racing, and he's not very good at it. Like, the other motorcyclists are like, he's not a very good motorcycle rider. He's just not, like, in terms of this. But on the street, he can ride a wheelie all the way up the street.
He can go fast real recklessly, but he can't get in the turns and do the technical shit.
Exactly. He's not afraid of anything, is what it is. Right. He's just got balls and will try anything here. So, by the way, Pomeroy's son, Jim, was a big international motorcycle racer.
I was going to say Pomeroy, I think, is a name of racing. That makes sense.
Jim Pomeroy was the first American to win an FIM international race, which was the 250cc Spanish Motocross Grand Prix in 1973.
Wow.
So, at one race, Knievel saw Pomeroy do the wheel walk, which is the wheelie standing on the seat.
Okay, yeah.
He saw that and he was like, putting that in my fucking shit, stealing that.
Sure.
He saw another comic do a joke and was like, nope.
That's my joke now.
No one knows this asshole. That's mine. Yep. So he took that, he practiced it, and then did it in his next show. Again, he has balls. You can't give him anything like that. This is hilarious though. When he was really getting into it and trying to practice it, he was going to do it at a show, but he was doing it he did it on a warm day wearing only a t-shirt, not his racing leathers.
Oh.
Because he was showing off, and it's on asphalt, and he crashed.
Oh, no.
And took off most of the skin on his body, basically.
That'll do it.
Yeah. Went to the hospital, came back to the race covered in bandages.
And did it again?
He went back to the hospital. He just went to the hospital and said, just fucking cover up the bleeding spots, and then left.
Wrap me up. Wow.
And then left. And Pomeroy said, I'll never forget all that blood oozing through. He was a crazy bastard.
Golly.
He's a crazy fuck. He's insane. He'll do a race later with a fucking broken arm. He'll do a jump with a broken arm. He's like, I'll just hold it with one arm. I'll hold the fucking... That's insane. Don't do that.
It's not the jump, it's the landing, man.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, when he lands, and then of course he didn't have good control, and he flipped over the handlebars and almost killed himself for the 40th fucking time
with one arm.
He's a maniac. Now here's a few stories from locals in Butte from around this time.
Sure,
because Evel is having a hard time making a living, and he's basically just robbing people all the time. So this is the owner of the Acoma Lounge, who we've talked about before. I think that was where he sold somebody their own set of tires.
Their own set of tires.
Which is one of the greatest things ever. This guy says, Bobby robbed me. Bobby is Evel, by the way, if you didn't hear part one. That hurt because we were friends. The place was broken into during the night. I just figured it was Bob. I just assumed it was Bob. He said a few weeks later, someone broke into the Acoma Lounge again. Yeah. This time it was a reverse robbery. The robber left the amount that had been robbed the first time plus $100.
It was definitely Bob.
It's definitely Bob. But at least he gave it back.
Yeah, with interest. He just borrowed it is what he did.
This guy was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, he comes in, finds that, and Evel happened to come into the bar that day, that night after he found it, and Evel said, aren't you going to buy a round? When the guy said fucking, hey, somebody gave me my money back. He said, you should buy a round then for the whole bar.
Heard you made $100.
Fucking balls on this guy. He talks to his cousins a lot, and we'll talk about that. One of his cousins was watching him practice jumping his motorcycle, and he said, you're sure good on those takeoffs, but you're not so good sometimes with those landings. Yeah, aren't you there?
And that's kind of the part that makes it impressive.
That's that he keeps doing it.
But I mean, the impressive feat is the jump, but it's not the guy in the air. It's the guy that does that and then sits that shit back on the ground, because that's what makes you different from us. I could do that shit. I could crash a motorcycle too.
That's what I mean. If you could stay on it enough to get it up to speed, fucking anybody could fly through the air. That's not hard.
That's super easy.
Yeah, the human cannonball part is the other side. Is the thing.
Yeah, it's that part where gravity brings you back.
Imagine if diving was just flipping around in the air. It didn't matter how you hit the water. Fucking sideways, belly flopping. That's the point.
Yeah. It's that part where you do it better than us because you landed it.
But that's the fucked up part, is we'll find out later on. The thing that made him famous was one particular crash that happened to be captured amazingly on film in slow motion.
Really?
In like very super slow motion.
Oh, I've seen it.
Yeah. Everybody's seen it, where he lands and you can see his body tumbling.
The bike
and the
wobbles.
That is the footage that made him famous.
Yeah.
That was it right there. He went on every talk show with it, and they were like, holy
shit. And he was pretty well fun. No, he was pretty fucked up.
Oh, he was fucked up.
We'll talk about it.
He was fucked up, but it was his first promotional thing. We'll get to it. That was the Caesars jump. We'll talk all about all this shit. So, anyway, his cousin here talking about him said there was nothing hidden in the fact that he was devious. That's just, you knew it.
Yeah.
He's trying to scam everybody and everything at all times, and that was what you have to know to be around
who he
him.
looks like is Jigsaw. You remember the Saw movies?
Yeah.
The guy that's in the wheelchair? They have the same face.
It is similar.
It's a very mischievous, diabolical face, and his squint. His whole face looks like he'll fucking steal from you. Yeah.
I will steal anything that's not nailed down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he has friends that we told you that didn't want to go out of town because he would come over and try to fuck their wives if he knew he was out of town. That's crazy. That's a bad guy.
That's worse.
Oh, my God. The book says he had an attitude that should have made any buyer beware. Tied to his track record of sometimes shady dealings, what saved him was a twinkle in his eye. A little stage laugh, sort of a heh that made all sins smaller, got him off a succession of hooks. Trouble that he was fun to be around. He lit up people's dull lives. Yeah. He was such a character that people were like, I know he's full of shit and he's trying to scam me, but he's look at him go. Like,
what a guy. Yeah.
It's really a weird human thing that we have where we will, if someone has the gall enough to put it right in our faces that they're full of shit.
Yeah.
As long as they have the gall enough to like do it with a straight face, just a bald face fucking liar, we're like, the human brain somehow has weird respect for that when it absolutely shouldn't. Yeah. That's how dumb people are. I know he's full of shit, but goddamn it, something about him I like. Well, fucking who cares? He's full of shit. That's the problem.
I just like the stories.
Yeah, it's so weird. Pat Williams here, his friend there his cousin said, I came back to Butte after college with this little MGB sports car. That was really different in those days. I think I might have been the first person with an MGB in Butte, maybe all of Montana. Not a popular car up there, probably.
Yeah, it's a little British car. They're cool little cars.
Yeah, not great in the snow, I would assume.
No, probably not.
Or
anything really.
Seems like more of a pickup truck environment up there in the mining towns.
Yeah.
But he said that he was getting into his car when Evel drove by, slammed on his brakes, and double parked, fucking like blocked him in.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What you got there? What kind of car is that? I like that." He said, "Let me drive it."
Oh God.
And this guy was like, "I'm never letting you drive my fucking car. You're a lunatic. You're gonna jump it off something. No fucking way." Like everyone knew, don't let him drive your car. He said, "No, absolutely not." And but within 2 minutes, they were driving away, and Evel was driving. He conned him into it. So
that's a very balls thing to do in the first place, is ask anybody to drive. Wow, that's hot.
You got a brand new little car?
What?
Especially not take it around the block. He's going to do an Evel Knievel test drive on it, which is going to be...
Let me go pull the e-brake.
Well, that's what he was doing. He said the tack was pinned in the red all the time. He's just always just fucking doing that.
Explode my motor.
He said it's just, they're going twice the speed limit, cornering. He's like, let's see how it takes this corner at 70 and shit like that. Like he's a lunatic. He said that 3 minutes into the test drive, they were coming down the original street, and he spotted 3 men standing around his double parked car because his car is still in the middle of the fucking street because the car he was double parked took off. Yeah, that's the other thing. They couldn't move because their car was boxed in. So Evel said, "Hey, what are those guys doing with my car?" So the cousin said he fucking hits the brakes and spins it 180, does like a stunt driver spin with this fucking car, squeals out, all this crazy shit. And this guy's like, oh my God. But he said William said he stopped a foot short perfectly. It was like the most perfect stunt fucking spin from a movie. It's like,
really
holy
got the feel
shit.
Of this car.
Quickly.
Yeah.
Quickly, yeah. And Knievel fucking slammed on the brother. They're like, holy shit, they thought they were going to get hit by this car. And then he jumped out. What's the problem? What's going on here? And then, man. So Pat once asked him, his cousin, are you scared before you do the stuff that you're doing? And Evel said, I better be. Yeah, I'm scared every time. That shows I'm not crazy. If I was crazy, I wouldn't be scared.
No, I'm dumb.
I'm dumb. I'm an idiot. I know the consequences and ignore them.
Yeah. I know this is going to hurt when I put my finger in this light socket. I just do it.
I guess in a weird way, that's the definition of brave. I know this sucks, but I'm doing it. Brave and stupid are real close in the Venn diagram.
Yeah.
There's a lot of overlap
I know
there.
I could die, but I'm going to do it anyway.
A lot of overlap between brave and stupid, and he's right there in the middle of that shit. Because before all of his big jumps, like the 2 days leading up to it, he's telling everyone he's not going to do it. He's like, I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. There's no way I can do it. It's crazy. What am I doing? This is crazy. No, we're canceling it. Cancel it. We're not doing it. There's no way I can do it. And then when showtime comes, he does like 2 shots of liquor, and he's like, well, let's go. And he fucking...
Here we go. Yeah.
Let's go. 2 shots of whiskey, and he's ready to rock and roll. So
it is so annoying. It used to be him and his son, Robbie. Watching them jump was like... Dude, it was because the jump is going to take literally 10 seconds.
It's all this lead up
and
for...
it's an hour on NBC.
Oh, God. They're going to talk about it. He's going to come out. He's going to do a couple laps.
Drove you crazy.
Yep. An hour on Wide World of Sports for that
Just
shit.
do the goddamn jump.
Fucking do it. So pretty much when he's in Sunnyside, same thing. Cops are looking for him and all that kind of shit. So he had to kind of take off. And also there's a lot of men who want to shoot him for fucking their wives.
Sure.
Because he has there is he doesn't even hide the fact that he fucks every woman he can.
Yeah.
Like, if his wife hears about it, he doesn't give a shit. Not his problem, basically. So he started thinking, I'm going to be a professional motorcycle racer. Let's do it. And L.A. at the time, Southern California, was basically the only place in the country that had like a professional motorcycle racing circuit at the time. So he goes, I'm going to go down there. He says, Hollywood, I've made for Hollywood. Look at me.
Yeah.
I'm full of shit. There's no better place for me to be. If I can't make
as fuck, let's go.
Yeah, if I can't make it as a fucking, performer, I'll at least be an agent, something. I will pull this shit off though, goddammit, or I'll be a producer. Those guys don't do shit and they get money
real well.
Oh man, wide collars. So he stopped in Spokane and to talk to a guy named Daryl Treiber. That's the guy who brought him into the motorcycle business. They hung out and talked and bullshitted and just had a great fucking time. Yeah. And then that same night later on, his dealership was robbed.
Oh.
What a coincidence. Hadn't seen the guy in months and months and months. Shows up, same day it's robbed. They got $350. And by the way, that's the only robbery that ever happened at that dealership before or after.
Right?
It's just the one day Evel showed up. Archie Treiber, Daryl's brother, said Bob did it. Obviously. We all knew he did it. There were things that only someone who'd been around the store would know. That made us sure. Daryl never said anything to him. Daryl never went after him. Daryl still liked him. If he needed money that bad to go to California, okay, he had the money.
Yeah.
Everybody just let his shit go. That's what I mean.
Well, he's taking like such doable and manageable sums that it's not robbing people of $100,000. It's like $300 here, $150 there.
Yeah, $150 there, where they're like, fuck, it's not cost. I like him more than I need $150. That's what the people do, which is so weird.
I'm going to call the police over $150. They're going to throw him in jail. I'm going to have to go to court. All this shit for $150.
Cave his fucking skull in with a tire iron. He's stealing from me. That's like, what are you doing? This is insane.
Yeah. In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this White Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. I'm going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles...
A big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud.
Sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
1942, Europe. Soldiers find a boy surviving alone in the woods. They make him a member of Hitler's army. But what no one would know for decades, he was Jewish. Could a story so unbelievable be true? I'm Dan Goldberg, and from CBC's Personally, Toy Soldier. Available now, wherever you get your podcasts.
So he, on the way there, he stopped at Ray Gunn's house, and he had his motorcycle and a trailer hitched to his car. Ray Gunn is one of the guys he was involved with.
Breakdancer from Australia.
Yeah, exactly. He told Gunn he was headed to Los Angeles to be a motorcycle racer, and he said
I'm going to Australia to become an art.
Yeah. You know what?
Breakdancer.
I'm going to change my gender and not learn to break dance.
If you can do it, I can do it.
Anybody can do it. He said, they'll eat you alive down there, is what he told him. You're not going to be able to do it. And he wasn't able to do it. He goes down there, and he's...
No.
They said he basically, the one guy who did the payoff said he never made more than the minimum for the race. Like, he never won a race or did anything like that. So he needed to make some money because he needs to hire more performers. He wants to put together a daredevil team. This is 1966. And he's like, I need everything. I need like personnel. I need people to build shit. I need people to haul shit. I need all this type of thing. So he started looking for a sponsor. And he ended up going to ZDS Motors, which was the West Coast distributor of the Berliner Motor Corporation, who distributed Norton motorcycles.
Okay.
Know anything about Nortons?
No.
No, I didn't. I thought it was just me.
British?
I Berliner. I think they're German.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, German bikes here. This guy offered to provide the motorcycles, but he wanted the name changed from, at this point, it was Knievel and his motorcycle Daredevils thrill show to Evel Knievel and his motorcycle Daredevils. He goes, you got to put evil in there. It sounds cool.
Yeah.
So it can't just be
Knievel. Nobody's coming to see Knievel. They'll come see Evel Knievel. That sounds
Knievel?
rad.
What is that?
Yeah.
They're going to go, is that Knievel? Because it's KN. So is that Knievel? What is that? You don't even know.
What is
evil?
What is
It's going to be Knievel. You know what it is? It looks like it rhymes. So Knievel didn't want that. He said, well, I don't want to be Evel Knievel because this is 1966. This is just when Hunter Thompson's Hell's Angels book came out. And and Hell's Angels were like this big national story of this motorcycle gang terror. He said, I don't want to be associated with that. He said, so evil, they might think I'm a Hell's Angel because I'm evil.
Right.
So he said, no, but this guy said that's how he got him. He told him to, that's what Evil told this guy, I'll do it if I can be EVEL instead of EVIL.
Okay.
Because he's never had it in print before. Yeah, it's never been in print before, Evil.
Wow.
He just used it as a, as his name.
Wow.
But, so he said, what if I'm AVEL? That way I'm not evil. It looks like maybe that's my real name. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So the guy said, sure, whatever. It's still evil. I don't give a fuck. It sounds cool. That's what we're going for here. So that's what they did. So that's how evil became EVEL anyway. So January 23rd, 1966 is the debut of Evel Knievel and his motorcycle Daredevils.
And is he going to jump a Norton?
Yes, that's what he's got.
Wow.
His equipment for years is not what it needs to be, by the way.
No.
At all. It's like this other guy that the first Daredevil, a little story here, side story. Kind of the first guy who was doing like motor Daredevil shit for like a show was a guy named Lucky Teeter. All right.
Okay.
Now, Lucky Teeter was jumping a Plymouth sedan, though.
Okay.
From the 30s, like this heavy, giant steel thing.
And the thing about those is that it's all front heavy.
Yeah, well, you just got to get it off. But he would jump like a one truck sideways and then land on the other side of the ramp, which was still an accomplishment.
Yeah.
And he would do all of this shit. And so this guy, he was like a big deal in the Daredevil industry.
Yeah.
All his shows are the biggest deal. But then World War II came. So he said, the real Daredevil shit's going on over in Europe there and in Asia, so I'm going to join the army, and this will be my last show.
Yeah.
And he has like a wife and 3 kids, and they all come to watch it, and he goes, for my last show, I'm going to jump 2 trucks. It's going to be the greatest thing I've ever done, and then I'm retiring from this. Okay. So he drives off with the Plymouth, comes up completely short.
Oh, no.
And smashes into the fucking second ramp.
Oh, no.
The people who built the ramp, instead of putting the boards sideways, put the boards fucking long ways.
Yeah.
So basically, he flew into a giant fucking spike wall of 2x4s that impaled him in the car. And the car and him were like stuck in the fucking ramp. It was crazy.
Oh, my God.
Fucking dead in front of his kids and everything. He did this.
Is there a video of that?
It's 1942, so I highly doubt it. Yeah, no. So then,
if it is, it's that black and white shit like the carpet bombings of Germany, which are really bad videos.
Oh, those are terrible. Yeah,
so bad.
They fixed them up a lot. They have World War II in color. There's these.
I don't think they're.
Really
I don't think
good.
they're given the doctor version of digitizing
Lucky Teeters.
to Lucky Teeter's death run.
Lucky Teeter's death ride. I doubt it's happening. So this is how Evil though became kind of started though, because from Lucky Teeter was the wife, the widow now, with these children and shit, had nothing, and said, I'm going to sell all of this stuff that he has for his traveling show. So she asked this guy if he could help her sell this shit. And this guy just said, well, I'll just buy it. And then he started his own fucking Daredevil thing. I can't remember, I think Chit Welder or something like that, but he's had Daredevil shows up until like the year 2000.
Okay.
And that's the first guy Evel saw doing a Daredevil act. So this Lucky Teeter guy impaling himself begat Evel Knievel doing this, basically. I know that was a side story, but it's something I read in the book.
And and really though, the first Daredevils were like cowboys that would do tricks and shit from horseback and stuff.
Shit,
we've
stunt
always
shooting.
we've always been fascinated by anybody doing something that's like
risking your life for money.
Yeah.
For my entertainment.
Really die doing that.
Yeah. Just risking your life.
Thank you, Houdini. You really paid the price.
The Lucky Teeter guy had a guy in his crew that would they'd put up a giant pole and he would climb up to the top of it and jump off of it. And they'd dig a big hole in the ground and put a bunch of like air mattresses in it. And he'd dive off of it, and the way the perspective was, it looked like he just fell into the ground,
the earth,
and they'd give it like 5 seconds, then he'd pop up, and the crowd go, oh my God, he lived.
That was amazing.
They
can't even see the air mattresses in there.
They had no idea. So that's how this whole thing got started here. So this day is his first debut at the January 23rd, 1966 National Date Festival in Indio, California.
Oh.
Yeah, not bring a date. Yes, exactly. Not bring a date, eat some dates.
Right.
So
no, it's not. Indio is like
Indio's on the way to L.A.
Yeah,
pass through it.
Dateland's down between San Diego.
That's the other. It's on the 8.
Yeah.
Yep, it's the other way.
Yuck.
Yeah, it's
Indio's worse though.
Indio's a shithole. But that Dateland, you pass it, get your date shakes, and I'm like, no,
gross. So I can shit my pants by Gila Bend.
No one eats a date shake anywhere in the country. Why would it be tasty just because it's here? Because I'm in the middle of the desert, it's going to be good now.
Have a date shake. It's 119 outside.
Yeah, thanks. No, I'll have a normal flavor, thank you. Not really
can I
on the
get
menu.
Strawberry, so at least I can have diarrhea and feel okay about myself.
Next time you go to Dairy Queen or any place like that, fucking
let me have dates.
Let me get a date shake. They'll go, what the fuck are you talking about, weirdo? So Evel, for this performance, he does wheelies. He crashes through the plywood that's set on fire. It's an old trick that he did there. He jumped over 2 pickup trucks.
All right.
And it's a big success.
Yeah.
A lot of people after that start asking him to bring the show where they are.
Yeah.
People
that's
showed up.
That's a heavy fucking bike to be throwing over two trucks.
Oh yeah,
you got to get a lot of air to. You got to let the momentum be because it doesn't just fucking jump. You know what I mean?
No.
And a dirt bike, you can throw those fucking everywhere, but these are so heavy, 800 pounds.
And he's talking about too, like the fact that you have to get like the back wheel has to be really torquing off right at the right time on the jump to get the right angle, and there's a lot of nuance to it, I guess. That
and geometry.
Can't just go fast and fucking fly off the end of it. There has to be a certain.
That's a thing, but not like this.
Not
you
like
got to get up. You got to get lift.
But the second he gets booked to do a show in Hemet, California, but it rained, which it never rains there, so that should be a sign for Evel. The next performance was in Barstow, California, and this is the one where he's going to try a new stunt here, where he's going to jump. Okay, a motorcycle's coming at him.
Yeah.
Someone's going to drive at him at full speed, and he's going to jump up in the air and have it go under him, like a leapfrog.
Okay, yeah, they're doing that on Instagram today. I mean, it's probably CGI, but okay.
They've been doing that since the 60s. That's an old trick. So
how's he's going to get his body up in the air enough to go over it?
Well, that's the thing. And he's got a guy he's in his stunt crew. There's a guy that usually does it. But he fucked himself up and got hurt. So Evel's like, fuck it, I'll just do it.
I've got the
and the other guy's
got the Achilles for this.
Well, the other guy's name is like Jumpin' John something. Like his whole act is that he jumps real high.
Yeah.
Evel's just like, I'm a fucking 5'11" guy from Butte. I can fucking jump over his fucking motorcycle. He's out of his mind. So
I jump motorcycles, so same thing.
Oh man, here's an article in the Desert Dispatch newspaper about this. This is from February 11th, 1966, after the Barstow show, and it says Evel Knievel and his motorcycle daredevils of Hollywood, making it sound real fancy, will be here in Barstow this Saturday performing the 12th and 13th for all interested spectators at the Barstow Raceway. They're talking about it will feature a special contest in bike riding for kids under 18. In order to win, a participant must pedal his or her bicycle farther on one wheel than other contestants. You got to do a fucking wheelie. And you win a U.S. savings bond of $25. You win some shit that'll be worth $25 in 15 years. Enjoy.
You get $25 later.
Yeah, which will be worth way less by the time you cash this, by the way.
Yeah.
So the show spotlights the longest ramp-to-ramp jump in the world, a stunt which is performed by Evel Knievel. In this spectacular event on a motorcycle, a motorcycle is ridden off a 32-foot ramp at nearly 70 miles an hour. It sails approximately 80 feet through the air over the top of two 3/4-ton trucks parked end to end, then lands on another ramp. Okay. It is the only known jump of this tremendous distance throughout the world. Other stunts which Knievel performs include a 5-in-a-row firewall crash and riding a motorcycle on 60 miles an hour on one wheel while standing on the seat, which sounds...
Okay.
I mean, kids, I see guys do that up my street all the fucking time. And I yell, crash, 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 and have all the cars behind you run over your corpse, you fucking idiot.
Where are the deer when you need them?
Oh, God.
Kamikaze Pearl Harbor this man.
Fucking A. Oh, please. God, just run right out. Make him fucking...
It probably wouldn't even hurt the deer.
No. Oh, God, no. They keep running. They're tough, man.
Yeah.
I've seen them get hit by cars and keep running. They're tough.
Yeah. But if he just, hit him with his chest, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
He also has, quote, Butch the Midget Daredevil.
Okay. We can't say that anymore.
This guy, look at the ad. Here it is, featuring Butch the Midget Daredevil. He's got it. This was a poor little guy who, I say poor little guy because Evel just abused this guy so bad, basically. He gave him a little mini motorcycle that doesn't ride very well. And made him do crazy stunt shit. And he used to just crash all the time because he wasn't good at it. And Evel was just like, that's all right. Crashing's part of it. I crash all the time, too. But if you're a little person, you got different health problems, too, and shit. So a fucked up little person is real fucked up physically. So, and they made it silly. He would ride his motorcycle into an outhouse.
Yeah.
And supposedly by accident, and then the outhouse would collapse, you know what I mean? And he'd be standing there with the motorcycle and shit like that. It was like a little comment, he
crashed into the toilet.
Isn't that cute? You know what I mean? This is his jump. He's going to do not the jump over the trucks, the jump over the motorcycle, which is more dangerous, honestly.
Right.
So the book says he stood there waiting. And the guy driving, who's the guy who usually did the jumping, but now he's going to be the driver because he's hurt. He fucked up his leg. He came from the direction at the speed he was supposed to go, and Evel fucking jumped not quite high enough.
No,
I will
Zach catch him in the face.
Let you fill in the blanks of what fucking happened.
Right
if you try to leapfrog a motorcycle going 60 miles an hour, what would happen?
And he took a man's helmet to the chest.
65 miles an hour in the ball sack. Well, not in the head. He said, quote, he described the point of impact as, quote, the handlebars hit me right in the balls.
He didn't even
handlebars.
Get the person.
That's how far away he was from successfully completing this fucking thing.
He may as well have not even jumped.
Yeah, he didn't even practice. This was the first time he ever tried to do it.
How do you think that's going to go, man?
Yeah. He didn't say, come at me at 20 and see if I can do it, and then come at me at 30 and we'll work on it from there. And I'll build. He just said, fucking fire it up. Let's go. I'm ready.
And those motorcycles back then, you would lean over to put your foot down. They were so high.
Oh, yeah.
So if you get up on it, you're actually taller than you usually are.
He thought he could leapfrog 6 feet. He thought he could get his taint 6 feet off the ground, which is...
That's insane.
But if he could do that, he could reverse dunk, for Christ's sake. He wouldn't need to do this.
And a lot of people can do that. Remember when you were in high school, your friend would run up behind you, grab your shoulders, and throw himself over you? You can do that. But you can't do that when a guy's going 65.
Nope. That's what I mean. You got to get up off the ground. That's why the other guy's nickname was Jumping.
Yeah, because he can jump.
He could jump.
That's impressive.
it flipped him into the air. He fucking tumbled and flipped and flew off into the fucking dirt, and he was all messed up. I mean, this hurt him. He got hurt bad. This was one of the worst injuries he's like ever had that like took him out for the longest. He got taken to the hospital. Show was over at that point. He had cracked ribs and bruises and all sorts of sprains, way less broken bones than some of them, but it fucked him up good. His friend said he was hurt really bad. In fact, I don't think he was ever healthy again. This was the start. I think he was always hurt after this. Mm-hmm. This was the start of something is wrong, so he's got to compensate, and then he hurts himself that way, and it just keeps going on and on forever, basically.
I don't know that he's ever said it ever publicly, but I'll bet this is why Johnny Knoxville does what he does.
Oh, I guarantee his age, absolutely.
He's of that certain age that he grew up with this shit.
Jackass does not exist without Evel Knievel.
Never.
Absolutely
Nope. No
fucking not. Nothing like that exists without it. This is what it is. I'm going to do something crazy. Watch it. I probably won't even pull it off, which will be just as entertaining.
The reason I even say that is because the bull incident where he took a bull, you know what I mean? He was blindfolded and took a bull.
Yeah.
That's the same thing that Evel just did. He just didn't have a blindfold, and the bull runs 65.
Guarantee you Johnny Knoxville had that Evel Knievel ideal toy, the one with the little bike that did it. Guarantee you he had that, like no doubt. So they said that he was hurt really bad, and they also said that he never did that again.
Yeah.
Never tried that because he didn't even get close to it. So it was like, that was stupid.
He can't do it.
I can't jump that high.
Not even half, I'll be honest.
So the problem is when you're a daredevil and you make your living doing these shows, when you hurt yourself and can't do it again for 4 months, you're not getting paid.
No money. Yeah.
There's no money there. So it's really bad. He was in the hospital. He was released. He, I guess he went back to, they said he was going to do another show the next week, though, there. And
really?
Yeah, he said he was going to try to do it. The other guy riding the bike was also in the hospital.
Yeah, because
he crashed, too. He hit a man on a motorcycle.
He took a man to the chest.
He fucking crashed a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Knievel vowed to return to Barstow to complete the performance when he will attempt to successfully repeat the stunt which he was injured with, which he never does.
Can't.
He never does that. He wants to do the other thing. So the first booking outside of Southern California was scheduled for Post Falls, Idaho, June 1st, 1966 at the State Line Speedway.
Sure.
And the state line's because it's between Idaho and Washington, and it's right there. So he brings his whole fucking little circus up there. His one partner, Tim Perrier, who's one of the guys who's given the money and all that kind of shit, started to have doubts about the whole thing now.
Okay.
He saw the way Evel operated, and he said that, I don't know what I'm here for, basically. This guy's, he does all the everything on his own and spends all the money, too. So I don't know why I'm here. Like, I'm getting nothing out of this whatsoever. Yeah. So he said he made all the decisions. He said Knievel ordered him around the same way he ordered everyone else around. He said Knievel was in charge of everything. He said this wasn't exactly a partnership of any kind. He never said, what do you think? There was never any of that shit. It was just, go do that. Not
I
even
need your help.
That's it. This guy said everything was about him. He was convinced he was going to be famous. We'd go into a bar and he would have himself paged.
What?
Yep.
Wow.
He would go outside, call the bar from a phone booth just to have his name spoken over the loudspeaker. He did that always, by the way. He'd do that in Vegas.
What a great move.
It's a famous old fucking move to look cool. Yeah, people do that in movies to try to look cool. They'll have themselves paged. They'll be oh, that's me. Yeah, they must need me. Yeah. And you walk away, and the women are like, oh boy, he must be important. He's being paged at the bar.
That's free advertisement.
That's the way he looks at it. That's advertisement he can get for free. He has no fucking conscience about any form of trickery or bullshit or anything. The way he gets the Caesar's Palace jump later is insane. It's all bullshit. He just bullshits his way into it. It's great. He pretends to be a lawyer. It's wild stuff. So
hilarious.
Wow. So one of the guys, the Perrier guy, is talking about something that stuck in his mind that happened before this. He said that they were that it was Christmas time. This is a few months earlier, and he heard Evel say that he didn't have any ornaments for his Christmas tree for his family.
Oh boy. Yeah.
So Perrier said he owned a box of ornaments that he puts on his Christmas tree in Michigan, and he felt bad for Evel, so he brought the box to the track where Evel was practicing and gave it to him.
Nice.
So he said that was nice. He said somehow the box wound up tied to Evil's roof rack of his car. Somehow Perrier was in the car and the box hadn't been tied tight enough and went flying off the car into the road.
Oh, no.
So Perrier said, oh, shit, all the ornaments flew back. And Evil said, fuck those, and kept going. So he said,
I don't care about those at all. I just gave those to you 10 minutes ago.
You could have just stopped and we could have picked them up. And Evil said no. So this guy said, this guy doesn't think about anyone else's feelings but his own. Doesn't give a fuck. He said, those were my ornaments that my family had. I was being nice and giving them to him. I would have at least liked them back if he didn't want them, not just leaving them on the highway.
Wow.
Yeah. He was like, this was he said, I thought I was giving him something important that he would appreciate, and he didn't give a goddamn shit about it. So he was just bitching about not having ornaments one day. That's all. He probably was looking for money from somebody or something. Yeah. So June 1st, 1966 is the State Line Speedway show in Spokane that we talked, and they said that this guy said two things happened right before this Perrier guy said. He said first was he discovered Evil had spent twice, almost 3 times as much money for publicity and advertising as they had agreed to spend.
Oh.
He wants to see his name in print, period. Yeah. He never consulted this guy. He just spent the money. And at one point, Perrier asked him, how much have we spent on advertising? And Evil lied to him about it. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, it's beyond just slipping between the cracks. He actually lies. The second thing happened in a strip club.
Go on.
Okay. Now, it's Perrier, Knievel, and a couple of the daredevils went to the strip club, which you can imagine that's going to be a
class. Yeah.
That's worse than a football team going to a strip club. These fucking lunatics. Yeah. So there was one stripper there. One of the dancers paid extra attention to this Perrier guy, liked him for whatever fucking reason. Yeah. And, they were talking and flirting and all this type of shit beyond the normal strip club, back and forth here.
Either she genuinely liked him or
she's
she
really
saw
good.
Something in him that she could get more money. Yeah.
Something. Yeah. Whatever it is. But Knievel was pissed because he liked her and he was trying to flirt with her the whole night, and she wasn't flirting with him. She was flirting with the other guy.
Yeah.
So that was what that's a big deal. So Evil kept getting madder and madder and madder. Obviously, you can't like him. You're supposed to like me because everyone's supposed to just pay attention to me.
Yeah.
I'm the guy. So as Perrier talked, Knievel kicked him under the table. And he said it wasn't like a kick like, hey, we're going to go do something,
right in the
one of those.
fucking shin.
He said it was a hard kick that really hurt.
Yeah.
And he said, my first inclination was to punch him in the face because that was my first, like, what the fuck are you doing? And this Perrier guy said, I couldn't figure it out. I was single. He was a married guy. I was just talking to the girl, and he was upset that she wasn't interested in him.
Wow.
That's the kind of guy Evil is. Even a stripper that you're talking to. No, you can't even have that. I need that. It's wild.
And she doesn't want either of you.
She's probably wants the other stripper in all.
She probably would just like to go home to her boyfriend.
Well, yeah. Well, nowadays, most strippers are lesbian or at least bi at this point.
Is that right?
Yeah. That's the way it goes now.
I don't care either way.
No,
I'm not trying to take them home. I'm just trying to have a good time.
The Scores book, the guy was saying that.
Really?
He said 80% of the girls had girlfriends, not boyfriends, and they would get these old guys on the hook, and they would think they had a relationship, and they're just spending it all with their girlfriend and laughing at this old guy. That's how it works.
It is very funny.
Do you think that this is a transaction that's really going on with you? It's wild. So this Perrier guy said that was it. He got out of the partnership, and he said he was mad about the money that was spent without him, but he said mad about all that shit, but he told Evil he was done. He said, I bought a bus ticket back to L.A. I'm out of here.
Okay.
It cost him $36,000 where he's in debt, this guy.
Oh, Jesus.
Yep. And he said all he saw was the number getting bigger. He didn't see any way that was going to cut down. And he said, maybe if I had a partner I could trust, I would have done it, but not this guy. He said, I took my chance. It wasn't as crazy as it sounds now. This was Hollywood, where people mortgage their houses to make a movie. It took me a long time to pay off that money, $36,000, but I can't complain. I was young, and I learned a lesson. Never go into business with someone you can't trust. That was a good lesson to learn.
Not a bad one, yeah.
That's a real good one. Too bad it cost him $36,000 in 1966 dollars, which is
that's like
$500,000 now.
Yeah.
It's a shitload of money.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. If someone did that, I would fucking be very upset with that shit, especially if I didn't have it.
That's 10 homes in 1966.
Yeah, especially if I didn't have it. Like I was in debt that money. It wasn't like, oh, well, I had a big trust fund and it just took a bunch out of it. But the debt is a lot. So Evel said, please, no. He tried to convince him, but the guy said, no, can't do it. Can't do it. And this guy said, Perrier said, the show should have worked. Bob had a great idea, had a lot of things going for him. Everything was there, except it was just a click off. Bob did things where he couldn't help himself. It was all about Bob Knievel. He wanted to get ahead, and if someone was in his way, he'd just kick him down the side of the mountain. That was the way he was.
Okay.
So the Daredevils end up breaking up after the Barstow show.
Really?
Yeah, not exactly the Rolling Stones. They really didn't last that long. This was a short one here.
They didn't get a goodbye tour out of this.
Nothing at all here. It was mainly just from injuries, and the guys can't sit around waiting for work, so they all go take other jobs, and that was that. That's kind of how it worked here. So after he recovered, he started traveling from town to town as a solo act. And other motorcyclists started doing these jumping things, but they were jumping animals or pools of water and shit like that. Okay. He's like, I'll jump shitloads of cars. Those are hard. So he did that. State line jump was his first jump over a string of cars. He jumped over 11 of them and declared it a world record just because no one had ever tried it before.
I don't know if it's happened anywhere else, but I'm going to say I'm the only one.
He was the only one who did it. So they were like, I guess it's a world record. And no one else was doing it. I mean, it wasn't like you won the Olympics for something that was established. So June 19th, 1966, he started adding more and more cars to the jumps. Because he said that he knew that then people might return if he said, I'm going to add more cars on, so he could come back for another one here. So he hadn't had a serious injury in a couple months, which is good for him.
Sure.
June 19th, 1966 in Missoula is when he's going to attempt to jump 12 cars and a cargo van.
And the van.
So that's what's going on here. He's trying to break his world record that's 3 weeks old.
Okay.
Here we fuck. So he learned, and this is from the book here, that the most important component for making these jumps was to reach a proper speed at liftoff.
Right.
Had to do that. Too much speed, you overshoot the target, you fuck up.
Not enough.
Too little speed, obviously that's not great either. You're going to land on the targets.
Not enough speed, and it is Titty Tedeschi's death ride. What was his name?
I can't remember. Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean.
So he learned that that's the thing. Now, this time he thought he had nailed it, but he was a little short.
Yeah.
The speedometer said he was going fast enough, but he wasn't fast enough. The speedometer was wrong. He figured out later the wheel must have spun in some gravel on the way to the takeoff that made the speedometer say faster, but the bike's not moving faster. And, physics know the difference. If you can't fool physics. That's the fucked up part about it. It knows. So that's what he figured out, and he figured out that is what happened. So after this, he never looks at the speedometer again on a jump. He goes completely by feel.
Really?
Goes 100% by feel.
Speedometer in my chest. That's where I know where it is.
Said never looked at another speedometer again because he didn't trust it. He only trusted his balls, the feeling in his balls.
The tingle.
The smashed balls, his recovered balls. So that's his problem here. He clears the 12 cars, but the back wheel of the motorcycle clipped the cargo van at the end.
He's not good with that back tire.
Not great with that. That's a big deal, too. The motorcycle went flying. Yeah. He went to the hospital. He had a severely broken arm, cuts all over him, broken ribs. Yeah. And, from then on, no speedometer. He did give a quote to the newspaper in Missoula saying, I'm sorry that we didn't give the folks a better show. I promise we'll come back and jump again in Missoula. And then he loved showing the reporters his wounds.
Yeah.
Because they were fascinated by it. Look, this guy's fucking crazy. What'd you do to yourself?
That's what gets it, yeah.
One of them said his arm looked like a stitched-together baseball. It was all, yeah, it's a mess, like big stitches here. Not enough speed, all fucked up. And but the publicity from the crash was way bigger than the publicity from the race if he made it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They all covered the crash. So now the Grand Canyon is the famous one he wanted to jump. He kept telling everyone he's going to jump the Grand Canyon. It's on a reservation, unfortunately, the party wanted to land on, and they obviously weren't going to let him do that. No. You're not going to fucking come over here with your stupid motorcycle. So
You're not going to fly into this place.
No, yeah. You got to walk in or drive in or something. So he's at a place called, there's a guy named Good Time Charlie, they all call him here, Good Charlie Shelton, and he lives in Kalispell, Montana, and this is where he stayed after he got released from the hospital. He stayed with this guy for a while here. Now, he had another show scheduled in a couple days at some campground in Kalispell. That's why he was staying up there. It's an RV park, actually, is where he was.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So basically, whatever campers were there, they said maybe 50 people this is going to be for.
Okay.
So, and his arm's in a cast. He's all fucked up. He appears, but he doesn't jump because he's all messed up here. So he told Good Time Charlie that he cleared $400 from the Missoula jump and then paid over $300 in hospital costs. So he put on
like a comic paying parking.
Paying parking and travel. Whenever we look at these road features and we go, how do you survive?
How you doing, man?
Yeah, cost you fucking $400 to get there and you made $350. What are you doing?
Behind the closed doors of government offices and military compounds, there are hidden stories and buried secrets from the darkest corners of history. From covert experiments pushing the boundaries of science to operations so secretive they were barely whispered about. Each week, on Redacted, Declassified Mysteries, we pull back the curtain on these hidden histories. 100% true and verifiable stories that expose the shadowy underbelly of power. Consider Operation Paperclip, where former Nazi scientists were brought to America after World War II, not as prisoners, but as assets to advance U.S. intelligence during the Cold War. These aren't just old conspiracy theories. They're thoroughly investigated accounts that reveal the uncomfortable truths still shaping our world today. The stories are real. The secrets are shocking. Follow Redacted, Declassified Mysteries on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Redacted early and ad-free right now on Wondery Plus.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this White Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. I'm going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles,
A big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud,
sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
with a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
Have you ever gotten a message out of the blue? Maybe you ignore them. Or maybe you end up in conversation. Maybe they tell you about an amazing offer.
I can really show you how to make some money.
And maybe that gets you into a lot of trouble. But this isn't a story about people like you, the people receiving these messages. This is a story about the people behind the messages, on the other end of the line. Thousands of them, working in a microcity built for scammers. From Wondery, the makers of Dr. Death and Kill List, comes Scam Factory, a new series about survival at the expense of others. Follow Scam Factory on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Scam Factory early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.
What's wrong with you? So he said that he put on 4 shows and had been seriously injured in 2 of them. So that's not good.
No.
That's a bad deal there. So if you're a stat person, that's not a good stat.
Those are terrible stats.
Terrible stats. So Charlie said, Good Time Charlie, they're drinking. And he said, you know what you have to do? You have to jump something big.
Oh.
He said, nobody gives a shit if you jump 13 Volkswagens or whatever it was you jumped in Missoula. If you're going to take the risk, you have to jump something that will get people's attention, something big. Right. If you're going to get fucked up anyway, it might as well be worth it. He said, you have to jump Soldier Field in Chicago. You have to jump the Washington Monument. You have to jump the Grand Canyon, he said.
You got to jump something that's miles wide.
You have to do, but the people will go, you can't do that, and they'll pay attention.
Yeah.
You'll crash, but they'll know who you are.
You can make a spectacle of it. I'm going to jump the Grand Canyon. Then you jump like a 20-foot gap of the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, exactly.
No big deal.
See,
yeah.
I did it.
Yeah.
I could have fallen 3 miles to my death.
Right.
See, it's
only a 20-foot gap, but I did it.
I did it. So he said as soon as those words came out of his mouth, his Evel turned to his wife who was in the kitchen and said, Linda, I'm going to jump the Grand Canyon.
Well, it's settled.
She went, okay, like, sure. Nope, like she didn't even have an argument. Imagine, I just thought if I went and told Sarah, I'm going to jump the Grand Canyon, there'd be conversation. Rightfully so. No, it's not being a pain in the ass.
One?
It's
not that one.
There'd be conversation. What are you, fucking stupid, would be the first thing she'd say.
Well, no, you're not. Bye.
Yeah, you're not doing that. You're a moron. Stop that shit. So it was, that's all. From then on, all he told everybody was, I'm going to jump the Grand Canyon. I'm going to jump the Grand Canyon. That's when he'd start going to bars and everything like that, just saying that. And crazy. At one point here, he and Good Time Charlie that afternoon went to Moose's Saloon, which was owned by a guy named Moose Miller, who played football for the University of Montana at one point. And Evel, soon as he sat down, pointed to a picture on the wall and said, that's the Grand Canyon, and I'm going to jump over that on a motorcycle.
Okay.
And by the way, it wasn't even the Grand Canyon. It was Flathead Lake, that the picture was, but didn't matter.
It's a hole with water in it. That's got to be the Grand Canyon.
It's fucking hilarious. And so later on, when the story got out, reporters would call and say, do you still have that picture up? And they'd go, no, we don't. We don't have the Grand Canyon up anymore. Ha ha.
We never have.
So Knievel went to a local television station that night to promote his RV park appearance. Mm-hmm. That's a very local television station. Appearing at the RV park tonight's this fucking idiot. Here, come on in.
Yeah.
So he didn't even talk about the RV park. All he talked about is how he's going to jump over the Grand Canyon.
He's promoting the RV park.
Yep, and he's
that
doing
was the
this.
idea.
With this, and he's instead promoting a thing that doesn't even exist.
Right.
Rather than a thing that might make him a couple bucks later tonight.
And it certainly exists.
It's definitely happening. He even said, Good Time Charlie said, quote, he said that Robert F. Kennedy was going to be there. Senior, obviously. This is before he was assassinated. Yeah. He said Kennedy had promised to be part of the rescue team. No, he didn't.
Sirhan has something to say about that.
Yeah. No, he didn't. Well, he was alive for this jump, but no.
Yeah.
The attorney general, former attorney general at the time and future presidential candidate in 1968 wasn't going to show up to scrape you off the fucking floor of the other side of the Grand Canyon. And also not a fucking doctor at all, a lawyer. Yeah. So there right away comes out in the newspaper. Here's the News and Observer, October 18th, 1966. Cyclist plans leap over Grand Canyon. Doesn't exist. No one's planning anything.
Yeah.
They say Robert Evel Knievel of Butte, who plans to attempt to leap the Grand Canyon on a motorcycle, says he'll take the flying leap sometime in November 1967. Wow. Again, a date pulled directly from his asshole.
Sometime in 67.
Yep. He said he'll be in Arizona next week to examine a point on the northern Grand Canyon, in which is said to be 3,000 feet deep on one side and 2,000 feet deep on the other. The professional cyclist said he will display the machine and his jumping abilities at Daytona, Florida during Speed Week in March. The specially rigged cycle will have two side-mounted jet engines and a delta wing, Knievel said.
What?
Pulled that out of his ass, too.
That never happened in his career.
Well, it did in Snake Canyon. He had the
rockets?
He had the rocket bike, the jet bike, he called it.
I don't remember this at all.
The stake is what crashed. He crashed.
Okay. Didn't work.
It was almost, but he wasn't like, it was like a motorcycle in an enclosure thing. So it was like a little rocket ship thing. Okay. It was crazy. Right. So he had no control over anything. It was not good.
Perfect. Yeah.
We'll talk all about that. Don't you worry. He said that the cycle will be equipped with parachutes. It says, Here's how he plans to make the leap, which could range from 1 mile or more across the canyon. A mile.
Okay. Or more.
Or more. When the sky cycle, that's what he was calling it at the time, leaves the takeoff ramp, Knievel must have attained the speed of 130 miles an hour. At that point, one jet engine cuts in to accelerate to about 300 miles an hour through the sky.
300 miles an hour on a motorcycle. Well, it's got an enclosure, but still, that's crazy.
And they said, so you think that'll work? And he said, hopefully.
Well, fingers crossed. It doesn't even exist yet.
Yep, it's in everywhere. Arizona Daily Star, daredevil motorcyclist to zoom over canyon. Like it's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's what's so fucking funny. They talk about, he said, yes, I've been aware of some people looking at me as if I'm some kind of weird bird, but that only lasts until they get to know me. I'm not some nut just looking for publicity. That is exactly what he is.
That's what you are, yeah.
I know that if anyone can ride a motorcycle across the Grand Canyon, I can. They thought Charles Lindbergh was a weird one, too, when he said he could fly across the Atlantic. They stole his baby and then celebrated him. And he showed them that it could be done. I only hope that they'll be behind me or pull for me. But planes existed back then.
Right.
That's the thing. He just said, I'll fly it farther. This is, I'm going to make a motorcycle that also is a jet engine. That's insane.
I'm going to make a motorcycle that doesn't exist.
That is fucking insane. He said once he leaves the ramp of the north rim of the world's biggest gully, however, it's going to take a whole lot more than people pulling for him to get him across. So he said he's planned and prepared, but he's just getting started now. He'll still be planning when he mounts the Sky Cycle for the once-in-a-lifetime try at the impossible. He said, I've got over $100,000 invested in my equipment, says the handsome blonde daredevil, and the rockets at Cape Kennedy don't get better care or go through more inspections. Couldn't be less true. His shit that he put, it just slaps it together and goes, I think that's fast enough, and tries to fly over fucking things. He's crazy. He said, I went to the Grand Canyon a couple weeks ago and looked over the terrain. I've picked a spot where I hope to cross. It's 1.5 miles north to south. 1.5 miles.
Okay.
He said, but I still have to arrange it with the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the Forest Service for permission to use the spot. They won't let me jump in the park itself.
Unbelievable.
No shit, I guess, here, obviously. So he says he's been riding motorcycles since he was 7, but he's going to never had one with a rocket on it. So he said each jet will deliver 370 pounds of thrust with 3,320 horsepower. Okay.
3,000 horsepower.
He said each of these jet engines can propel a motorcycle with a man aboard from a dead stop to 158 miles an hour in 3.71 seconds.
Oh, my God.
So that's some 0 to 60 time right there. What
does that shit take, though? Jet engine fuel, right?
I would assume it's a fucking jet engine.
Yeah.
He says he doesn't plan to use the jets until the exact instant he hurdles off the 100-foot high takeoff ramp. He said, but I'm not sure how long it'll be just quite yet, the ramp. Yeah. The jets will burn for only 14 seconds, he says, so I don't want to waste them on the ground. None of these things are times or any of this shit exists. He pulled all these numbers out of his ass.
He doesn't have the fuel. He doesn't have the tank or the engine
or the
that's going to burn that to know how it's going to burn that.
Or the permission to do it or any of these things. This is just out of his asshole. It's wild. He says he figures he'll leave it at 150 miles an hour, and he fires up the jets, and he said hopefully he'll attain an altitude of 500 feet.
He's going to go 500 feet in the air for a mile is what he thinks?
Well, he said that should give me 1,500 feet of altitude from the north rim to the south rim. For the first half mile, though, it's 3,000 feet straight down. One thing I don't want is to lose control leaving the ramp and drop straight down.
Okay, so now he thinks he has an education in science of
physics,
trajectory, and physics. This is actual physics.
This is what physicists do. Yeah, this is. Yeah. He's not a physicist, by the. He goes. Yeah, he goes. That feels about right. That's not a physicist at all. Then he says,
I think this is the fastness that I need to go.
And here's more bullshit.
All right.
Listen to this. I've dropped test streamers and weighted parachutes into the 3,000-foot deep section. These are cross currents and downdrafts. They're cross currents and downdrafts that'll collapse a parachute. There's no way a man can parachute into the canyon and live. That's why I have no choice but to make it across. He didn't go there dropping parachutes down.
And that's not even true. People have parachuted into the canyon a bunch.
They base jump into the canyon. You're out of your mind. He figures he'll have a pretty good chance of surviving past the first half mile.
You understand there's downdrafts. That's why the ground has collapsed there.
That's the He said the canyon starts rising, and there are trees and shrubs on the other side that can help break any fall if I fail. Yeah, fly into the trees. That'll help. You don't look at a tree as breaking your fall.
And it's not just
remember
soft,
Lucky?
flat ground out there. It's jagged-ass rocks.
They're not going to set that up. He said, the parachutes are strictly to break my fall on the other side. There's no way you can land a motorcycle at 300 miles an hour. Airplanes don't land that fast. Okay. He said, when my pickup team on the South Rim fires a flare, that'll be my signal to abandon ship. I'm hoping to have 1,400 feet altitude when I reach the other side so that I can pop the parachute open. But that's shaving it pretty close. Skydivers on a static line open their chutes at 3,000 feet.
Oh.
Okay. So they keep. He said, I've been back at work for only a month. It's taken a lot of guts for me to try leaping cars after I got out of the hospital. But I cleared 13 on my second try at them. And on October 6th, I cleared 14. And he's also working with the Highway Patrol in filming motorcycle safety films, which
he does nothing.
So those crash test dummy commercials are just stealing. That's what that is.
Yeah.
So, man, then they kind of, it's funny too. They go into his background that also hasn't happened.
Yeah.
And then he says, quote, I'm jumping across the Grand Canyon because it's never been done and I've got to do it. If anyone can, I can. I'm going to give it a real go. Yes, I expect to make some money on the jump. I figure at least $500,000.
Yeah.
Okay. This is my work. I enjoy it and I want to be a success just like others want to be a success at their business. They said, well, why do you call yourself evil? And he says, my friends used to call me evil. I hated it, but they didn't. That's not what happened. He says, but now I find it catchy. I changed the I to an E so no one would think I'm a bad guy, though.
Nobody would know you're a bad guy.
Yeah. I wouldn't be advertising my shittiness.
So the secret doesn't get out.
Yeah. And they said, well, you have a wife and 3 kids. How does your wife feel about your leap? His answer should have been, who gives a fuck? Yeah, I don't care. Not my concern. I don't know. I tell you to ask her, but I don't know where she is. I left her somewhere. He says she thinks it's wonderful. She hopes I make it and retire. Okay. So, and here is a thing from the Tucson Dragway, an ad from the paper here. Evel Knievel motorcycle daredevils from Hollywood, California. See the first attempt by a stuntman to parasail from behind a jet car. The longest ramp-to-ramp jump over at least 10 Dodge cars, a complete motorcycle daredevil show, plus full drag race events. Show starts at 8 p.m. at the Tucson Dragway, and it says, quote, the place where everyone can race. That's not safe. That
is very common in Arizona.
Everyone.
They have so many racetracks in
Arizona.
I know. Well, anybody brings anything, and you just get to go.
They just have so much room to stick shit. They're like, just put it over there. There's nothing there.
As long as you wear a helmet, you're allowed.
So December of 1966, Butte Sky Cycle and Auto Show.
Okay.
So they said he plans to jump the Grand Canyon. They go through all that crap. And he says an attorney for Knievel, C.E. Wellington of Pittsburgh, said Knievel will try to break his own record by jumping 15 vehicles at the Phoenix Raceway in January. Knievel previously jumped 14. He's also planning to hurdle the scoreboard at Soldier Field sometime this year. He took that in.
Okay, the scoreboard is in the fucking stands. How are you going to do that?
I can put a ramp on the other side and jump to the field or jump out to the street, I guess.
Oh, yeah, probably jump off the roof over it.
Yeah, that's what I would imagine here. So anyway, they're talking about also Ascot Park in Gardena, California. Yeah. It was apparently the best motorcycle racetrack in the country in 1967. That's where he tried to be a racer and it didn't fucking work there. So he, there's a guy there, the proprietor is a guy named J.C. Agajanian. He's a motorsports guy. He wore a cowboy hat and a big cigar. He's one of those guys there. Yeah. And they talked about, he was kind of interested in his shit here. One guy, a writer, said, Evel proposes to jump the Grand Canyon on a motorcycle. You heard me, over it, not across it or through it. So that's in a national fucking thing, which is interesting. So he said, Evel, when asked about it, said, I told him, you bet your life I wouldn't fly over the Grand Canyon in anything that doesn't have stewardesses, somebody else said. Yeah, haha. So there's another part where they talk about Knievel made a jump, a 15-car world record without problems. This Agajanian guy, after the show finished, this was their first time working together. He was supposed to, basically they had a deal, which was, Evel told this guy, look, what'd you do with your show last year? How many tickets did you sell? He said, you don't pay me a cent except you pay me $1 for every ticket above last year's number. That's all.
Okay.
So that's what I bring in because he hired him late. So he said,
got it. Yeah.
That's only what I bring in. So he sold an extra 2,300 tickets.
Wow.
So the guy paid him. The guy gave him an envelope with $3,000 in it.
Huh.
And Evel picked it up and fucking threw it back on his desk and said, there's too much money in there, which is odd for Evel. It's like, I like to steal it, but I'm not going to just take it.
I don't do this, honestly.
Yeah. Tell you what, put it down and turn around, and then we'll talk about it. You turn around, it's gone, and we won't do anything.
Yeah.
So he said, the Evel said there's too much money in the envelope. He said, he gave me $700 too much. And this guy said, well, it's a bonus. I like your work, and I want to work with you in the future, so I thought I'd make you a happy guy. So Evel was like, wow, that's crazy. People paying me more than they're supposed to. What's up with that?
Look at that earning.
Yeah. So there's all sorts of articles in the paper about everywhere he goes. It's the headline is one cycle racing at Ascot again, Grand Prix today, Daredevil Evel Knievel, and then in parentheses, honest. He says he'll hurdle 15 cars too. So they're advertised everywhere.
Yeah.
So the wide world of sports, the first time he gets some national attention other than like an AP article in a newspaper, was the wide world of sports. Okay, this is March 25th, 1967. This is why he went to this guy, because this guy had a race where the wide world of sports was going to cover it. So Evel went to him and he said, let me fucking be a part of this shit.
Okay.
I just want to be a part of it. You don't even have to pay me. Just pay me $1. Let's do all of that kind of shit. So this was a 100-lap motocross race, which is boring as fuck. Yeah. Let's be realistic here. So Evel here, he's going to do a jump on the show as well. Now they proclaimed him, quote, a most unusual young man. Right. They said his specialty in sports is that he's able to jump 15 automobiles on his motorcycle. And they asked him, have you ever jumped 15 before, Evel? And he said, Bill, I never have. I missed a jump in the northwest part of the United States over 13, and I was hospitalized and laid up for over 5 months. I sure hope that doesn't happen today. Okay. They said, how many cars were you attempting at that time? He said, 13. They said, 13 and you missed? And he said, yep. And they said, you're trying 15 today. And he said, well, parachute's ready, the motorcycle's ready, and I'm ready, and I'm not going to miss today. Let's do it. So
got to do it.
It went perfectly.
Yeah.
And he's a showman. He shows up. This is his black and yellow leathers, his Wiz Khalifas he's put on. Yeah, he put those on.
Yeah.
The ones that say Evel Knievel Motorcycle Daredevils and Hollywood on the back in black with the big stars down the side. The 70s, he went to the red, white, and blue shit. But this is when he was doing this shit. So he did his normal false start where he comes up and not getting up speed, and the crowd always boos.
At the top of the ramp, and then he stops. It's so fucking annoying.
Every fucking time. So then he hit the ramp, did it, boom, nailed it. That's it, 15 cars. He did it.
Wow.
So they announced that's a wild way to ride a motorcycle, and people were like, huh. And you have to think, too, this is 1967, early 67. There's nothing. This is what's on TV. There's three channels. There's no video games. There's no phone. There's no internet. There's no fucking even VCRs or DVD. There's nothing. It's just these three channels or go outside. Period. Read a book.
I remember when he would do these, they would when he would go off the first ramp, they would shoot like fireworks and shit, and then the amount of flashes, because cameras were a flash. You remember?
It's a flash.
The bulb, the tower of square of
the amount of blurry pictures being taken by the crowd.
Yeah, of a streak of something. Yeah,
yeah.
But it was so wild to watch that happen. Watch the puff of smoke and fire, and then this bike goes flying, flashes everywhere. He hits the ground, and then it's over. Fuck, do it again.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So awesome.
And they just replayed it a couple of times to fill this time because it takes 2 seconds, like you said. Yeah. So on May 30th, 67, he jumped 16 cars in Gardena again. So He's doing it. The final show at the Ascot racetrack there was in May 30th, 1967. That's where he jumped 16 cars. Then he went back to Butte. He scheduled a string of jumps in the state of Washington and all this type of shit and, everything like that. So he is kind of building a schedule now, like a road comic. He's trying to figure out what he's doing here. And one owner of a speedway here, this guy says that he was sure he was at one of Evel's first jumps in the state. And he said he showed up one day and asked if I would promote a jump here. He said, we talked, and he said that he'd want $3,500. I agreed, and I asked if he wanted $1,000 in advance. He said that floored him. He said no one had ever offered him an advance before.
Really?
Holy shit, I'm getting legitimate. This is crazy.
Yeah.
So they agree on a date. He would jump 10 Pepsi trucks, not the semis.
Yeah.
Like the box trucks, basically.
Yeah.
So he's gonna jump a bunch of those pickups like that. That's how he's gonna do it. No, long ways, I think. How he does them. He does everything long ways. Yeah.
Bumper to
so
bumper.
He appeared to set up his equipment. They said he showed up with a little house trailer. He parked in the middle of the infield and all this type of shit. Now, the Pepsi people, instead of sending 10 trucks, they sent 13 trucks for some reason. So Evel said, fuck it, throw them out there.
Line them up.
Let's do 13. He goes, if I can do 10, I can do 13. So they line them all up, and then a couple hours later, he called the promoter, this guy Pollock, and said, I can't do 13.
No.
He said, come down and have a drink with me in my trailer. Talk with me. So
that's another, at least 150 feet further.
Well, they're just the box trucks, but it's still another probably 50 feet.
At least 50 feet.
75.
Well, they're probably 25 feet long. That's probably 75
it's a lot.
feet.
It's a lot. It's a long distance. So then this guy's got to go to the trailer in the middle of the infield to talk with this guy who's going to be drinking before he attempts a motorcycle jump of 13 Pepsi trucks. So Pollock had his 10-year-old son with him for the day. So he brought his son with him, which is a weird move. So they sit around talking to him, and Evel said that they should all have some whiskey. And he pulls out 3 glasses.
Here you go, kid.
Literally, and pours wild turkey in all of them.
There's a kid there. He deserves a drink.
He's completely oblivious to age.
Kids are thirsty, too.
In Butte, that's normal.
Yeah.
So the kid was like, holy shit, he just poured me a drink. And the Pollock guy, the father, said, it was okay. There's worse things to say than you had your first drink of whiskey when you were 10 years old with Evel Knievel.
That's a pretty badass thing to say.
Over the next few years, that's the coolest story ever.
Fuck yeah.
I had my first drink with Evel Knievel. But they had one drink, and then Knievel kept drinking.
Okay.
Kept drinking. He was saying he never jumped 13 Pepsi trucks, had never gone that far. He said there's a finite limit to the possibilities of a motorcycle and the physics of the whole thing, and he doesn't know if he can do it. He said, I'll do it. I'll fucking jump, but I don't think I'm going to land it. He goes, I think I'm going to fucking kill myself. He says, I don't know. But this Pollock guy was just wondering if he was going to do it because otherwise he had to refund a shitload of money. So he was like, okay, he's going to do it.
Yeah.
He said he still didn't want this death on his fucking conscience, but still.
You gotta let a guy do it. If he said he wants to do it, you gotta let him do it.
You gotta let him do it. He said he checked in with him a little later, getting closer to showtime, and he had drank the whole bottle of wild turkey.
Whole thing.
Fucking did it. He said he was shit-faced. Fucking shit-faced in there. Drunk as shit. Saying he still didn't want to do the jump, but he did. Bottle of wild turkey in his system. He goes out there, does the takeoff. He's flying through the air. And fucking landed perfectly.
Wow.
Nailed it.
Wow.
The promoter said the guy couldn't walk, but he could jump 13 Pepsi trucks. He was so drunk they had to guide him to the motorcycle to put him on it.
No, it's over here.
Where's
the handlebars? Turn around.
Wow. So this guy ended up working with Knievel 17 times, setting up shows. Graham Washington, he attempted the same jump in June 28th, 1967, but he landed his motorcycle on a panel truck that was the last vehicle and was thrown from his bike.
Okay.
Pretty fucking horribly here. He was all fucked up, actually. He lay right on the 16th car he landed. He was going about 70 miles per hour at the time, which is not good, obviously.
No.
And they had 6,500 people there, though, for that. He sold 6,500 tickets. That's a lot.
Sure is.
That's a really fucking. There's NHL teams that don't draw 6,500 fucking people. That's pretty good.
It's tough to do that today.
That's a lot. That's not bad.
Yeah.
He said they interviewed him at the hospital. He said, "I don't feel too bad. They haven't taken any X-rays yet, though. I guess I'll be here for another 4 or 5 days." And they said, "Well, what do you remember from the crash?" And he said, "Can't remember anything after hitting the car."
It's called whiskey.
Yeah, it's called whiskey and fucking brain trauma. The two of them together. Yeah. He had a serious concussion too. Was the problem?
I believe that.
Yeah, which he probably would have been hurt worse if he wasn't drunk.
Yeah, because you flail.
You're loose. You got to fall loose. So he said he'd return in 3 weeks and complete what he started out to do. Mm-hmm. And he returned August 18th, 1967, just like he said. 16 Volkswagens, crashed again. Got the jump.
This is Volkswagens, for Christ's sake. They're so much smaller than Pepsi trucks.
So tiny. He couldn't hold on to the handlebars, broke his left wrist, his right knee, and a few ribs. Back in the hospital. He's a fucking mess, man, obviously.
But the suspension on those back then was so precarious. It's just
these
springs.
are not.
It's not what they have today.
This is not as complicated of machinery as we have today. This was just an engine with wheels strapped to it with a couple of springs. Good luck.
A couple of springs and a very unforgiving handlebars.
Yeah, absolutely. And now they have bikes that are made for this type of shit.
Yeah,
like they didn't have those bikes back then. They weren't. Nobody else was doing this dumb shit.
That are built to jump 16 fucking cars.
That's the thing. Yeah, you'd have to really build a specialty bike. They were talking about, you keep hurting yourself, but you're going to jump over the Grand Canyon. And they said, why are you going to do that if you can't jump these Pepsi trucks and shit? And he said, if I make it, I'll be rich. If I don't, I won't have as many problems as you do. So
okay,
splattered
so rich or
inside
dead,
the canyon.
But either way, you got more problems than me.
Get rich or die trying. That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's hustling, man.
Holy shit. He said it before anybody.
He said it. That's fucking evil, his quote. So September 24th, 67, he's all fucked up. And he's still got a broken wrist, if his knee's fucked up, and he tries to clear 16 cars at the Evergreen Speedway in Monroe, Washington.
Okay.
And they said 2 months ago he tried to clear 16 Volkswagens and wound up in the hospital twice. So he did it again. He cleared it, but landed hard enough to fuck his spine up and go back to the hospital.
Ooh.
He landed so hard it compressed his spine.
Yeah. That's the problem with that suspension, man.
Your body is not made for that.
Right.
Something's got to take the shock.
Yeah, you can't drop that shit bike out of the sky.
No.
May as well be a rigid frame motorcycle.
Yeah, again, physics. Something has to take the shock, and it's going to be your spine, because that's what it's
just about every time.
Yep. They said a motorcycle coming down 30 feet at 70 miles an hour gives you a terrible jolt. Yeah. That's got to be like electricity going through your fucking back. Interesting shit here. So they say that Evel Knievel is going to jump his motorcycle across the Grand Canyon, he keeps saying, but he's got to get permission from the Navajos.
Right.
He's got to get the Navajo Nation permission here. They talk about, by the way, Evel Knievel, who isn't nearly as sinister as the name sounds, is hopeful of gaining their confidence so that he will be, that way he'll be declared, it will be cleared for him to attempt the big jump next Labor Day, September 2nd, 1978. He and his backers have raised $100,000 to show good faith and soften tribal resistance to what at best would appear to be a crazy scheme. Evel said, we won't just give them the money. What we'll do is show them how they can earn it.
Okay.
And more besides by working for it.
Yeah.
Wow. That you can't get any more patronizing than that shit. We'll show those fucking lazy drunken Indians how to fucking work for money. That's what he just said.
Yeah, showing these charity cases.
What the fuck he's doing here? That is goddamn wild. They said enough. They would have to basically construct an earthen incline or ramp 735 feet long and 200 feet high at its highest end, from which point he would take off. So they're like, that's a lot to do to the desert and shit out there. Not the desert, but the environment.
Still the desert, yeah.
Yeah. So they're talking about he's averaging about $3,000 per appearance, and he's doing about 40 of them a season. So he's making money.
Decent cash, yeah.
Making really good cash. I mean, this is like $6,000 is the average salary in the country at this point, $5,000, something like that. So that's not bad. He's doing that, pretty decently here. He says that he wants to do it because of the challenge of it all and that there's a possible fortune in it. Because they keep asking him, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this?
I'm trying to get rich. What are you talking about?
What do you think? So they ask him again, what happens? What are you going to do with the canyon? And he says, if I can bring it off, it will be one big graceful arc, something like a rainbow, first up and then down with a pot of gold at the end. Okay, now is Caesars. Here it is.
Yeah.
Okay, the Caesars thing is, this is
the
fucking
fountain, yeah, or is
the
it
fountains?
cars?
It's the fountains at there. But he gets to Vegas not to do the jump or do anything. He gets there to watch a boxing match. There's a guy from Butte named Roger Rouse.
Okay.
And he is supposed to face Dick Tiger. Remember Dick Tiger that we talked about a couple episodes?
Sounds great.
He was a Nigerian champion. He's a very famous boxer. We've talked about him a few times. Dick Tiger is a funny name. So
it's a fantastic name.
All the guys come down from Butte to watch this local try to fucking win a title, basically, is what happens here. So they're going to fight. They're going to do all this shit. So they all arrived earlier, a few days before the fight. Evel had, I think, $300 in his pocket is how he showed up. Also with a Volkswagen off his father's lot. He just stole a used Volkswagen off his dad's lot, stuck $300 that I'm sure he stole out of the cash register.
Probably, yep.
And took off, checked into a $6 motel and hung out with his friends.
Oh, the old strip.
Yeah. The boxer, Rouse, came to see him, knocked on his door, and came in the room. And he had a very tiny hotel room. Basically, the guy, it was Roger and another guy is with him, a stranger. He walks in. The stranger is a guy named Gil Rogan, who was a writer with Sports Illustrated.
Yeah.
And he was doing a story on Roger Rouse. And so they walked in, and this guy said, the writer said, I was writing a long story on Roger. I had been up in Montana, met his family, learned a lot about him. He said one day in Vegas, you want a story? I'll introduce you to a guy you won't believe.
Yeah.
He said he wants to jump the Grand Canyon on a motorcycle. So this guy was like, wow. He said the first thing he noticed was the motel room was so small. It was the smallest room he'd ever seen in his life. It was so small that the Evel had to put a suitcase under the bed because it was the only place it would fit. There was not enough room around the bed to place a suitcase. That's insane. So he said Evel was very talkative. He said he was a quote machine. He was like, wow. He said, I always like to do stories about underdogs, and I always like to do stories about people who could talk. That made everything so much easier if they're their own, publicity person. So he said sometime during all of this, he meets this guy and all this type of shit. That'll come up later because this guy will write a big story on him in Sports Illustrated based on this meeting. He's walking around with one of the guys he knows, a Butte fireman, around the hotel. And the guy says, hey, Bob, you should get a motorcycle and jump across those fountains. That's what you should do. That's a spectacle. Yeah. And he said, oh, interesting. And he said it was just a throwaway line in a conversation.
Somebody else's idea.
Yeah, somebody else. So all of a sudden, a guy from Wide World of Sports said he called me up. He said he was going to jump the fountains at Caesar's Palace and we should do the broadcast. Nothing is scheduled.
Holy shit.
This was one guy said you should do that, so he called Wide World of Sports and said he was doing that.
I'm doing that now.
Yeah. So the guy from Wide World of Sports said I really didn't remember him at the time. I wasn't interested, but I told him he could send me some film after he did it and we would take a look. That was the best we could do. I forgot all about it. I guess from there, he used my name as if we had a deal. That's the story I heard.
Holy.
This is crazy. So they said the story has a lot of versions. The names and organizations and details are tweaked a little bit here and there, but the basic tale is this. He called the president of Caesars, the Sarno guy, with tons of calls about this. Is this happening? I want to go. How's it? Drove this guy fucking nuts. All of the calls involved Knievel's going to attempt to jump the fountains with a motorcycle and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And he's like, what the fuck is going on here? This is ridiculous, okay? So what he ends up doing is he ends up pretending to be an attorney. Okay? He pretends to be an attorney, and we'll talk about all of this. It's fucking crazy. He sends, because it's been in publications now that he's going to do this,
right.
He makes up an attorney, Evel, makes up letterhead, sends Caesars a cease and desist letter. then calls pretending to be the attorney, and he says, listen,
Yeah.
my guy
from Knievel, Knaffel, and Waffle.
and confucked up. So contusion. He said, listen, check this shit out. He goes, my client is Evel Knievel. He goes, I also represent Lawrence Welk. He goes, the guy, the band leader with the TV show. He said, now I'm about to go on a European tour. I'm just about to get on a plane to go on a European tour with Mr. Welk. Now, if I wasn't about to get on a plane, I'd be filing a lawsuit against you for using my client's name for advertising in something he is not booked in.
Yeah.
He goes, but I have to go on this tour. So basically, if it's not worked out by the time I get back, you can expect a major lawsuit to be filed.
Right.
He said, but I am going to give you my client's name and phone number, and I'm going to try to make you guys try to work it out amongst yourselves, and then I'll come back and see what happens.
If it's all hammered out, I won't sue anybody.
Yep. So this guy called Evel. Evel came in to talk about it, and they worked out a deal to jump the fucking fountains. That's how he got into Jump the Fountains. He made it all up.
Unbelievable.
Made it all up until they talk about fake it till you make it.
Knievel, Knaffel, and contusion.
That's me. Holy fucking balls.
Unbelievable.
That is crazy shit. That's the balls on this guy.
That's amazing. I don't have that creativity in me, I don't think. I don't know if it's
No.
It's
showmanship of a certain kind, but it's a certain amount of bullshit that I can't even bring myself to. Right. I can't bring myself to that level of bullshit.
It's a bullshit that has consequences.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's wild. Here's a quick story, by the way, from the book here. One night, as part of, hanging out and drinking and doing his general carousing, Evel left a bar in Butte with a prostitute, okay? Oh, yeah. Short while later, the bar phone rang, and it was a call for the Rouse brothers. That's the fighter and his brother, who's also a fighter. So tough guys. This, they're like, okay, they get a call at the bar, and it's Knievel. He's at a phone booth at a gas station, and he said there was a problem with the prostitute and the pimp and all this shit. Can you pick me up? Mm-hmm. He said, sure. And now they said en route to the gas station in the middle of Main Street, right in front of a bar, at the stoplight was Knievel's car. It was running, and both the doors were wide open.
Uh-oh.
But no one's in it. And he called
is that bait?
And he called to pick them up at the gas station, so it was odd. So they picked him up, and they said, why is your car over here? Right. And he said, quote, the pimp pulled up beside me in his car, pointed a gun out the window right at me. I got the hell out of there. He wanted to kill me.
That's the problem?
That's all. They said he never explained why the pimp wanted to kill him or what happened or
But yeah, it was money.
I'm running from a pimp. That's why my car's in the middle of the street. That's fucking wild. So, by the way, his law firm, that's hilarious that he created a fucking law firm. That is so fucking funny.
Does it have the name of it?
Yeah, we can get to all that. Okay. Basically, he was trying to come up with different anything, that sounded. He said he would call himself Fred Blumenstein or like Goldfarb. He said anything that sounded Jewish, he would use that. And that would be it.
We're high powered around here. You know what we mean.
Yep. Man, that's fucking funny. So Knievel would change his voice too and act like he was from the press and say, oh, this is Gil Rogan of Sports Illustrated for Mr. Sarno. I need to know about this fucking fountain jump. And then, oh, this is Fred Blumenstein from NBC in Los Angeles. I need to know, we want to send a camera crew to your thing. And
I'm sitting here with a Reuben.
I got a pastrami sandwich. It's fucking bigger than your head right now. My corned beef sandwich is huge. I got it from Katz's. I get it delivered across the country. They send it to me on a plane. So that's what he did, though. That's how he got in, and it's pretty fucking brilliant. He said his name was Epstein, I think, in this particular manner. Yeah. Not Jeffrey, I hope.
He wouldn't today.
No, that's not the name you want to go with there.
He's not landing there.
So it's very fucking funny that he did that. So this guy finally agrees after Evel's line of bullshit, basically. It's supposed to be New Year's Eve, 1967.
Okay.
That's when this is going to take place. The Wide World of Sports is going to air it fucking live.
Really?
Live shit here. It's pretty fucking interesting here. Now, they didn't commit to showing Evel Knievel on it right away, but you'll see what happened. So anyway, he ends up, he does some other shit here that he's trying to do. He's does his jumps in Long Beach and does all that kind of thing. Yeah, now that the guy from Sports Illustrated hears this, now he starts hanging around Evel.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get kind of the logistics of how this is going to work and all this type of shit. So he said Evel was living in a bus in L.A. at this point.
Really?
Just living on a bus. Okay. So he said he'd meet him at the bus, this Sports Illustrated guy, then follow him around L.A. as he promoted himself, essentially. When he went to go to Vegas, this guy said he went with him, and Evel drove. They drove a 1937 purple Rolls Royce, which he said he had got the day before. Yeah. They said the funny thing was, the whole time he's driving, he said he's driving 10 and 2, seatbelt on, 50 miles an hour the whole time. He goes, he drives like an old lady. He goes, it's fucking hilarious that he drives like an old lady with this guy in the car. So he said one thing that was a little weird while they're going, he said, is the amount of anti-Semitic jokes he told.
Oh, nice.
While knowing this guy is Jewish and has a Star of David necklace on and everything. He's like,
that's why he did it. Yeah.
He kept doing it. He goes, he just kept doing it. He goes, just these little jokes, kind of little things. He kept doing it. But he said, quote, he wasn't really a roughneck, which I thought he might be. He was good company, and I actually enjoyed being around him.
Weird.
Even though he was saying jokes at his expense. He didn't care, which is wild. So they talked about it. Evel said, if I keep making these jumps, I'm going to wind up dead, and I just don't want to wind up dead.
Okay.
Yeah, no shit. So anyway, getting ready for it. It's a big deal. It's going to be a 150-foot jump, and he's all ready to fucking do it here and everything like that. So he is 29 years old.
Yeah.
He uses his own money to hire John Derek to produce the film of the jump because he said, I want this on film for me. John Derek is a filmmaker. He's an actor-director, and he is the guy who was Bo Derek's husband later.
Oh, really?
That's
that's how Bo got Derek.
Yeah. At this point, John Derek was married to Linda Evans, the actress.
Is that right?
Huge in the 70s and 80s.
How handsome is this guy?
Dynasty, and apparently extremely handsome because those weren't his only two wives either. He had other hot wives too. Yeah. And Bo Derek was the last one when he was older and she was 19 years old or something. Yeah.
She was walking out the pool and shit.
Fuck yeah, with her
Amazing.
She was the first white woman to go to a fucking tropical beach and get dreadlocks and fucking
braids
and braids and cornrows and shit.
Yeah.
First one.
She literally was in a movie called 10 as a 10.
The box was just her running on the beach. Remember in the video stores when we were a kid, I'd see that constantly, and it was just here's this hot chick in a fucking bathing suit. 10. There she is. So to keep the costs low, this guy hired just his wife to be one of the camera operators, Linda Evans, who was an actress but not a camera person. She is actually the one who filmed the slow motion footage of him falling. She's the one who captured it. And she said, I didn't even know what I was doing or if I was getting it.
You got it.
Yeah.
You did great.
So that is fucking funny here. So on the day of the jump, they had one camera with a normal lens, which was a long range, your hard camera, basically, in wrestling terminology. And that was Derek. He's going to use this camera to capture the crowd, the whole everything, the panorama, you can get everything. The second camera with a long lens was for a close-up, and that would be trained at the landing ramp, which will catch the flight and the landing there, basically. So Evans... Or the not landing.
Yeah.
Now, Linda Evans never worked a camera like that at all in her life, and she said she was super nervous and all that kind of thing. Linda Evans said, we went out to dinner at Caesars, the three of us, John and Evel and myself. It was supposed to be low-key, except John and Evel got into a terrible fight.
Oh?
Evel told Derek that the jump was not going to be a success. He goes, I'm not going to make it, just so you know. So, yeah, which is what he does before every show.
Everything,
he tells every show. It's one of those things. Oh, this crowd's going to suck. It's that.
Yeah.
Oh, God, these people are terrible. Oh, my God, listen. Oh, geez, look, they're terrible, obviously. It's going to be a terrible show.
They make here. Obviously, this is going to be the worst.
It's going to be the worst. And you get out there and they're fine. It's one of those. So, but this guy didn't know that. He said, but Evel's telling him, look, I made all the calculations. There's no way I'm going to make the fucking jump. He goes, I'm going to land short. I'm going to crash. I'm going to do it. And obviously that's normal, but they didn't know that. Now, this John Derek guy, he was like, well, I don't want to film a fucking tragedy.
Yeah.
I don't want to film you get killed here. I don't want to do this. And he said, just cancel the show. And Evel said, I can't cancel the show. And he said, but you could kill yourself. And he goes, I'll be all right. I'm going to crash. I'll fuck myself up, but I'll live, basically.
Probably, but maybe not. And that's the idea.
Yeah, and they went back and forth, and the John Derek said, this is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. You're going to do something that you know you're going to hurt yourself in. Why would you do that? You could kill yourself. And he said, no. And Evel said, well, a promise is a promise. I signed a contract. This is my job. Like, can't just not do it. So finally, John Derek said, I quit.
Really?
He said, look, I'm your friend. I don't want to be a partner in any production that you're going to die in. I'm not doing it. Okay. He said, basically, I'll film the jump.
Yeah.
It's the night before. So he said, I'll film the jump because I promised and you don't have time to get anybody else. But afterwards, he goes, I'll process the film. We'll edit it. And he goes, I'm just going to give it to you. I want no part of the enterprise. Yeah. Because they were going to do a documentary type thing. He said, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to put that out. I'm just going to give you the footage of the jump, and that's that.
Okay.
And I'm done washing my hands of it. So he was like, all right, well, fine. So, there's that. Now his wife and kids show up, Evel's wife and kids. His father came. His mother came from Reno. Wow. Oh, yeah, this is a big deal, man. Evel told a sports writer that day, I've got to admit I'm getting a little edgy. I'm still confident I can make it, but my nervous system doesn't seem to agree. I'll be glad when it's over.
Yeah.
Now, morning of the event, he's walking through the casino, and he stops and places $100 down here on the now there's different things. For people say he placed $100 down on a hand of blackjack and lost. Okay. Then he went and bet on black, and it came up red on roulette. So
now I'm going to go jump.
Not good. So, yeah. So he does a few little warm-ups and pre-jump show and all that kind of thing here. Sure. Yeah. So anyway, he says this. He says that that he felt the motorcycle unexpectedly decelerate when he hit the takeoff ramp.
Really?
Felt like he went slower, and the loss of power on the takeoff caused him, of course, to come up short and land on the safety ramp, which was supported by a van, and he hit the van part of it. So it caused the handlebars to come out of his hands, and he went over them onto the pavement, where he skidded and skidded through the end of, because there was like a parking lot where he was. They moved all the cars.
Yeah. Because the fountains aren't just out in the middle of openness.
They're in
There's
the parking
so much
lot.
shit right there.
There's shit everywhere. So they had to move all that shit, and then he tumbled through the retaining wall into the Dunes property next door. So he ended up in a different casino completely. That's how fucking far he went. So they said he bounced, and that's the thing is it's a bounce and a roll, and the footage
is crazy.
It is locked onto it, and the fucked up part is the motorcycle looks like it's going to crush him and kill him too, because it's bouncing behind. It's a fucked up piece of footage. You really got to see the footage if you haven't seen it. It's crazy.
The handlebars are aimed right for him.
Oh yeah, he like hits it and his whole body goes fucking limp, and I mean it's a spectacle.
Is nuts. It looks painful.
It's crazy. So they carry him off, obviously, to an ambulance, clearly. So he went flying, and people screamed. They thought he was fucking going to die. I mean, thought he was dead. They didn't know what the hell happened. They didn't know. So John Derek asked Linda, what'd you get? Did you get it? Yeah. And she said, I don't fucking know. Maybe.
Perhaps.
Possible.
Press
she
rewind.
Didn't know. And back then you couldn't. You had to wait till it went to the lab, get processed, and then watch it. So it was like, I don't know. I guess we'll see in a week when it comes back. So she didn't know if the focus was right, the lighting was right, any of that shit.
I mean, I got the frames. I don't know if they're in focus.
Yeah. So they said if the cars hadn't have been moved that morning, he would have landed right in the middle of them.
Oh my God.
And one of the observers said, quote, I thought he was dead. He had to be dead the way he landed.
Yeah.
And somehow he fucking didn't die. So, yeah. Now, the next day, the stories come out. They're saying the doctors are deciding whether or not they're going to fuse his pelvis. Mm-hmm. And if they fuse his pelvis, then he wouldn't be able to walk and obviously wouldn't be able to ride a motorcycle or do any of the shit anymore. Right. The AP, the Associated Press, sent out a 2-picture photo spread that was used all over the country, showed him in full flight above the fountains and all that kind of shit, and then showed him rolling in the parking lot in a ball of dust here. And it said, "The End of a Stunt Driver's Career." That was the title of the pictures.
They're calling it over. They're calling it a career already.
They said, "Evel Knievel, 29-year-old Hollywood stunt driver, is pictured here in what probably will be the last such feat of his career," the caption read. Flying high at left, Evel fell short of the mark, the 150-foot flight over the Las Vegas casino fountains, and crashed. Knievel was thrown against a retaining wall and suffered a badly fractured pelvis, probably ending his career. And front page of the Las Vegas Sun said, "Injured stuntman fair, medics holding up big decision." Wow. So, I mean, it is. Other sports columnists wrote that they'd been refused entry into Evel's room, and the columnist said it was just so much, thinking about that he could have been decapitated if he landed a few feet shorter.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, yeah. One guy said, "I once knew a veteran sports writer who, after losing several friends in auto racing, refused to get acquainted with other drivers because of the way he felt when they were killed. Now I think I know some of the feeling he had." So it's a lot. 3 days later, the doctors at the hospital announced that fusion surgery would not be necessary, but that Knievel would probably be in the hospital for months. And they said the treatment originally diagnosed for Mr. Knievel is going to be continued, an unnamed doctor said. No surgery is considered needed. So they said 15 years ago, surgery was felt necessary for a smashed pelvis, but now improved techniques allow it to be treated with traction. So that's the thing. In the papers, it looks like, he's dead, okay?
Yeah.
But then they said friends and family would come, and they'd come expecting to see him half dead, like on a beeping heart monitor and everything, and they'd show up, and he's hanging out, bullshit, and doing fine. It's all bullshit.
He doesn't have a broken pelvis.
No, he does. He has injuries, but he's going to be fine, like, soon.
Yeah.
And he's totally going to be fine. But they're acting like he's near death. And
he's doing it on purpose.
Yeah, one of his cousins said that he showed up and to like help Evel. He was go help him out somehow in the hospital. And he said he got there and he said, "They told me at the front desk he couldn't have any visitors except for family. I told him I was family. I was his cousin from Butte, and they let me in." Evel was a little groggy from the drugs, but he was sitting up. His leg was wrapped in plastic. Otherwise, he was fine. He spent the whole visit showing me newspaper clippings about the crash, magazine articles. I think he showed me something from Time magazine.
One-man carnival.
Yeah. So Evel right away knew. Second he got there, I was like, I'm hurt way fucking worse than they say I am. Like, he knew. He goddamn knew, and he got out of the hospital a week later.
That's a quick fusion.
It's what I mean. Wait till you hear it's a big plot. Him and the Sarno guy came up with it together. It's fucking hilarious. So after the crash, Derek and Linda Evans sent the film to L.A. to get developed and all that kind of thing. That took about 5 days. They said that during that 5 days, they went camping. So they just went out in the wilderness. And this is, by the way, if you're not around a TV or something, you don't know anything. Yeah. There's no phone there's no social media or anything. So if you're in the woods, you're in the woods. The world stops as far as you're concerned. So that they went to pick up the film, and the technician said, "That's the most extraordinary film I've ever seen." He said, "What do you mean?" He said, "He's been doing this for a long time. He's developed Academy Award-winning movies." He said he's never developed anything that's as graphic as this. He said, "It's crazy." Yeah. He said, "I showed it to everybody. Everybody's amazed." Linda Evans said, "You could see everything. It was just so stunning to me. The camera captured every twist and turn of his body, arms, legs, hips, everything disconnecting." Yeah. Holy fuck. So, yeah, and here's an article from the newspaper talking about how he's almost dead. The surgeon made a preliminary estimate that Knievel would be hospitalized for a long time, perhaps 4 or 5 months due to the injury. He was conscious but in pain when they picked him up. And, I mean, it's just a whole
He's got us all snowed.
Oh, he absolutely does. He's got him snowed. Now, Jay Sarno, the guy who was running the casino, is watching he watched the crash from the roof of Caesars with his two sons. Yeah. And he said they were, everyone was all excited and everything like that. And the kids ended up seeing this horrible crash.
Wow.
He said there was all kinds of activity outside, reporters, television crews. It was like one of those alerts for a nuclear disaster.
Yeah. What year was that?
67, New Year's Eve, 67.
Holy
New Year's Eve.
Shit.
So he said he went to the hospital, left his kids in the car to go see him. He just wanted to know if he was all right. And the sons remember that their father gave them a memorable lesson in promotion. They said he got back to the car and the kids were like, is he okay? Oh, my God.
Yeah.
And he said the first thing his dad did was smile. And he said, yeah, Mr. Knievel's just fine. So he said that as a matter of fact, we were just up there laughing together about the crash.
Oh.
Sarno and him. He said there were some broken bones, but his leg had been pushed back into his pelvis. So he said there might be an operation, but it's really only whether he's going to have a little limp or not. So the father said this was, not what you're going to see on TV or in the newspapers, though. Yeah. He said the injuries are going to be much more serious. They're going to be saying he's almost dead. He's fucking fine. Don't worry about it.
Everything's all right.
Yeah. So he said this is just good business, is what he said. So the kids were like, interesting. Knievel, they said the guy went to see him, Sarno, and him and Knievel cooked up the plan in the ER before he was even in the room.
Before they even knew what the problem was. He's like, it's not that big of a deal, but it's a big deal.
Sarno said he was late getting back to the car because he'd been spreading around $100 bills throughout the emergency room to orderlies, doctors, and nurses to make sure if they're asked, you say
I'm almost dead.
He's almost dead. That's what it is. Jay Sarno Jr., the son, said it was all fabrication, all horse shit. My father and Knievel were like two giggling, sneaky teenagers. They were putting something over on everybody. They were a couple of promoters.
He's a wrestler.
It's exactly wrestling. Yep. That's it. So, he broke his neck. Oh, my God. Somehow he's wrestling again right now. So they said that Sarno told other people in the following days he'd visited Knievel and paid him. They had set up for 3 jumps for $1,500 a pop to get $4,500. He said the last 2 won't be performed, but he said he felt sorry for him and gave him the whole $4,500 and agreed to pay hospital costs, hotel room, meals, bar bill, and his gambling debts too.
This is the first time he's getting all the money.
He's getting everything. And Sarno said he gave him everything, and then he told Knievel in the hospital, now get the fuck out of my life. I never want to see you again. You've cost me a fortune. But the problem is, he said he got back to the hotel, and the next day, it was the most packed hotel on the Strip for the next month because everybody wanted to see it. Yeah. Everybody just wanted to see the site of the crash. So people were showing up. He said, imagine how much money they gambled.
You're right. How much money did he make just for that?
Just for that, yeah. His debts and his whatever the fuck are well worth that shit here. So, as a result of this, crushed pelvis and femur, fractures to his hip, wrist, both ankles, and a concussion as well. But the rumor circulated that he was in a coma for 29 days.
Really?
Obviously, he was fine, but that's what they were saying. He was in a coma, for Christ's sake. He was gonna fucking die, man. So it's a big deal here, obviously. Evel owned all the trademarks and copyrights to that film footage now, so he's pretty happy about that. And that is when he became a cult figure, is that film footage. And the Dennis Lewin, who was the former vice president of production for Wide World of Sports, said it's hard to imagine how big he became, how he was such a cult figure. Evel, Ali, Monday Night Football, Howard Cosell, they were all huge. Everything was anti-establishment at the time. Evel was a reaction to that. He really did believe in America. He was always a real package. He always delivered. He always did it. He was part of 7 of the 10 highest-rated shows in Wide World of Sports history. People loved him.
Really?
He was money. That's the thing. He's fucking money. And
he's not spending it on technology for that motorcycle to land this shit.
No, and later on when he tries to do the Snake Canyon jump, he tries to cheap out the engineers too.
Really?
And and that's why he crashed, because the fucking bike is all fucked up. It's not it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. So that is kind of what he's got going on here. Obviously, it's a bit of a mess here. Here's a little story, and then we'll close this up here. They said the first time the film was shown on national television, there was a guy, Matt Tunning, who was one of the kids watching, and it was a Saturday or Sunday afternoon. Wide World of Sports was on TV, just in the background, and he said, everything was quiet, but then he sees the Daredevil come onto the screen, and he hears Evel Knievel.
Hell yeah.
And this guy is just a guy in Montana, and he goes, wait, Evel Knievel? Is that Bob? He goes, I know Bob from Butte.
Guy. Yeah.
He goes, that's that crazy salesman from the insurance company. That guy's fucking nuts. He said, I know that guy. He goes, he's the one who The one who sold the mental hospital. He sold somebody a mental hospital, by the way. Yeah, he did. He sold it. Yeah, you can buy the whole building. The one who conned the lawyer in the bar about betting on the size of his penis. The same Bob Knievel. He said, I never heard anybody call him evil back then, but it's got to be the same guy.
Right.
So, yeah, he said that the filmed action from Vegas became totally compelling to this guy. He said there was good reason. Tunning had been contacted in the intervening years a few times by Bob. He said there'd been some genial conversation, a few laughs, and then Bob asked him to buy some insurance. Or Bob had asked to buy some insurance. This is one of the guys he sold insurance with. He was no longer employed by Combine, but he was still a true believer. He had bought a policy, then another, then another. He bought 10 policies in all. The company had rules that a salesman should only sell 2 policies maximum to a customer, but Bob was a friend, and he really wanted to be, insured. He was insistent. He wanted to be protected. He didn't tell this guy he was jumping fucking motorcycles. He said that this guy said, oh, shit. So he looked, and basically this Tunning guy had entered other salesmen's names to sell the extra policies. That's what he was, so he wouldn't be seen. He said, now this guy's a fucking daredevil? This is his job? So this Tunning guy said he watched the proceedings with a sense of dread. He said he knew the ending before it happened. He said, quote, there I was, sitting at home, watching my career skid and crash across the Dunes parking lot. I knew right then I was going to be fired. Turns out he bought up to 50 policies from different agents.
Is that right?
He bought 50 different insurance policies from agents from this company. So they owed him fuck tons of money.
So much money.
So much money. It's bad. And his boss said, what the hell were you thinking? They called him to Chicago to talk about it. And he said, I don't know. I blah, blah, blah. And they fired him.
How are we supposed to know?
he fired him. So we'll leave off there because that is when he's famous. So we just got him to fame. We'll say grace right now.
He's got so many jumps left in him.
So many. Oh, he's about to be the most famous, literally fucking Bruce Lee, Muhammad Ali, fucking Evel Knievel are the heroes of the 70s. Maybe OJ. Throw him in there too.
Maybe.
So that's what I mean. He's that big. So he's gonna get big. He's gonna go on the Dick Cavett show and all this type of shit. We'll talk all about that shit. So but he's famous now, and we know that. So there you go. That is part 2 of Evel Knievel. We have brought him from a crazy kid to now fame. Everyone's turned. Everyone to Evel Knievel. I've heard who's that? I've heard that name. Now it's on the tongue.
We know exactly who he is. We know exactly what he does.
Now we know, and he's about to be very, very, very famous. In our next part, we will talk about exactly how famous he becomes, which is a crazy amount of fame, honestly.
I want to see the black and yellow. That's fucking cool.
That is cool. Yeah, you can see it. There's pictures of him in black and yellow.
So rad.
I'm going to show you the interview from Dick Cavett next time too.
Can't
because
wait.
I want you to see the outfit he's wearing, and I really want you to see the interview that he does later on when John Ritter's there also, where he's talking about women's places and shit. It is wild stuff.
God.
You're like, Evel Knievel. What are you talking about?
It easy.
It is fucking hilarious. So there is Evel Knievel part 2, everybody. So hope you're enjoying that so far. If you are enjoying that, there's a very easy way to let the world know about it. You can get on whatever app you're listening on and give us a review. It doesn't matter. Tell us how long you think Evel's actually spent in a coma in his career. That's fine. Say whatever the fuck you want. Doesn't matter. Hang out and do that. Also, get on social media. Tell people about it. Fucking do whatever you got to do. Help drive people to the show. Also, listen to Your Stupid Opinions in Small Town Murder. You should definitely follow us on social media at Crime and Sports.
Oh, for sure.
You should absolutely head over to shutupandgivememurder.com and get your tickets for Small Town Murder live shows throughout 2025. A lot of them are selling out already. So if you want to go see a show, get them now. St. Louis, and where I just said the next shows are St. Louis and Chicago, but I think St. Louis is sold out. If it's not, it's right there.
Like 2.
So Chicago, same thing. Get your tickets to Chicago. Beautiful theater, the Riviera. It's going to be fucking great. We can't wait.
All right.
Love it there. And a lot of the others are selling out too. So get your tickets right now. Seattle, DC, Philly. They're going fast. So do that. Come hang out with us. Shutupandgivememurder.com. Patreon.com/CrimeInSports is where you get all of your bonus material, and there is a ton of it. Anybody $5 a month or above, you get hundreds of back episodes immediately upon subscription that you've never heard before, and it's funny shit. You're going to love it. Then you get new ones every other week, one crime and sports and one small town murder, and you get them all for that $5. This week, what you're going to get for crime and sports, since we're doing Evel Knievel and crashes and disasters, we're going to do a disaster potpourri.
Terrific.
Yeah, steel factories melting down and fucking people falling out of the sky of hot air balloons and industrial accidents, amusement park accidents, you name it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Then for small town murder, we're going to talk about the times when psychics actually found something they were looking for.
Right.
Psychics that it's worked somehow. And we've always spent time like debunking shit like that. So we'll see when it worked and see if it actually worked or if it came from other information or all that kind of shit. It'll be a good time. I'm going to look into it because you always hear once in a while their body was found by a psychic. And you're like, when? How did this happen? I want to look into this. I want to find out how. So check all that out and more. Patreon.com/crimeinsports. And you get a shout out at the end of the show, which is right fucking now. Jimmie, hit me with the names of the people who would never, ever, ever make us jump over a fountain to get their attention. Jimmie, hit me with them right fucking now.
This week's executive producers are Gary Howard, Jordan Bennett. Jordan Bennett and Simon, they're on their way back to England.
Yes, thank you for coming to the show, guys. We appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That was very nice. Neil and Blow Me, James. Neil and Blow Me is having a lovely day.
Neil and Blow Me, that's good. Oh, that's very nice. It's very clever.
They think that I didn't want. They for sure know that I knew that, right?
I would hope so.
They didn't think they were going to get by.
You've seen
an
Andrew Dice Clay act from 1987, so yeah, you probably have.
Tara Lathan, a little turpentine will do the trick, James. That's
cool.
A Captain Ron joke.
Yes, I know. Yeah, well, turpentine.
Stephanie Chatton maybe. Danae Lynn. Thank you, Danae. Good to see you. Other producers this week are Happy Hour in Conroe, Texas. Checking in. Good to see you, Happy Hour. Liz Vasquez, Peyton Meadows, Janice Hill, Tiffany Gonzalez, Seda Morris, Jen with 2 N's. No last name.
People.
Alicia
people good
Sanders.
People.
Yeah, they're terrific people.
Goddamn good people. Sorry.
Mindy Bybert, Boyo Nasty. What? Okay. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know what that is. Brielle Hurd. Amendola with no last name. Amandola.
I would think that is last name.
Amendola is certainly a last name.
Hope it's not a first name.
It might be Amandola. Chandler Jensen. Zachary McAdam. Brandy Corn Probst. Corn Probst. Corn like the band, Probst like the host of fucking Survivor. Beck J. Matthew Graff. Santa Ferrets, Michelle, Mishaelle. That is not Michelle.
Whoa.
Stop it.
Wow.
Your mom is so mean. Gap 7, John Villa, Amber with no last name, Liam Ostrander,
teachers.
Michael Ryan, Anthony Logalbo, Anthony, that's a tough one. Carrie Kelly, Emily with no last name, Courtney Dashner, Samantha Beechler, Amanda Martinez, Blake Zerbies, Olivia and Arturio, Carrie Redman, Amy Pearl, Mike on a horse with no last name. Okay, he has no last name.
He's on a horse. Him or the horse? The horse has no name, or does he?
Brittany Giner.
Okay.
Son of a bitch. That's
right in the Giner.
I don't like that at all. Sarah with no last name. Peggy Johnson, Amber Jackson, Nathan Couch, Sabrina McCracken, Sarah Drulow, Jeff Moose White, Mackenzie Adams, Jeff Simpson, Ebrook 16, Adam with no last name, Eric Linville, Golden Roses, Not All Bitches Wear Capes. Okay. Jim Jam, Marsha Gleason, Nicole Haliko, Misha Robinson, Louise Meeks, James Bruce, Jay Brooks. Is that Josh Brooks? Perhaps. Maybe just Jay Brooks. Danny with no last name. Keith Wilson, C.H., the letters C and H. Chili Willie, Josh Rhea perhaps. Morgan Olson, Jennifer Stringer. K, this show brought to you by the letter K. Karen Bamford, Laura Lavoie, Cheryl Brandez, Paula Ricard, Adam Schaefer, Justine with no last name, Luis Muirhead, Chris Drew Carey, I don't believe you, Crooked Pinky, M with no last name, Johnny Jones, I don't know, Nikki Marie, Quentin with no last name, Ruben Revelis, Sam Ellis, Chris Cozzolino, Alexandria Wertelka, Fucking wow. G with no last name. Sky with no last name. Sarah T. Monica Horton. Jill Kelly. Best Little Cat House in Nebraska. Is Wyoming close to? It is close to Nebraska.
Yeah, they're connected, I think.
Do they
by
touch?
a corner.
Is there a cat house there?
Yeah, you can drive across Wyoming and through the Nebraska because it doesn't.
Can you get in Nebraska? I don't know.
I think so.
That's great. Qualifying Kenny. Qualifying? Is that a okay?
Okay.
All right. Melanie Buckley, Christina Plyler, Billy White, Casey with no last name, Jennifer Cox, Jeff Debween, Jason with no last name, Jason Cecil, also
connected to Nebraska, by the way.
Is it really?
Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder if it's legal.
I've driven through there. Yeah, all the way through. Yeah.
Igor, holy fuck,
wow, that's a weird name.
Shvijanov. CV.
Go with holy fuck
right?
is your name, I think. That's easier for people. I said go with holy fuck. That was easier for Jimmie to pronounce.
Igor. It's pronounced Igor. Jessica Vandervelt. Michaela Hansen, Jacob Gonzalez, James with no last name, A. Bell, Will Hung, I hope, is that William? No fucking way that's the real guy. Beth Sylvie, Shannon Poole, Electric Diva Creations.com, Michelle Gulch, Emily Bulkeely, Catherine Vogler maybe, Corey with no last name, Chris C., Alexandra Wong, Rachel Gaziel, Karen Ruth, Carson Osterhout, Laura Myers, Becky Sargent, Samantha Hercules, Charles Withrow, Carolyn with no last name, Maris Lore, Jessica Johnson, Andrew with no last name, K, the letter K, Emily Garcia, Christine Struzzi, Rob Heyer, John James Webb, Sarah with no last name, Olivia Christensen, Paul Caracato, Sabrina M, Sabrina Harvey, Peter Reynolds, Chris with no last name, Alicia Porter, Christina Riesbeck, Elisa Schramm, Only Zeki, Jaylyn with no last name, Rose with no last name, Mike, M-E-I-K-E, is that Meek? Mike? Jolivet, that's a foreign name. Laura with no last name, Amy DeBroom, Shannon Sullivan, Kara Shocks, Libby Kilgore, and all of our patrons, thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, so goddamn much from the bottom of our hearts. We really do appreciate you hanging out with us and giving us a chance to entertain you on a whole other medium there and on Patreon. Not really medium, but a whole other area on Patreon. So thank you.
Platform.
That's the word I'm looking for. Gee, how did that evade both of us?
I don't know.
We're both like, what's that word that we use all the time for a fucking
grasp for words.
service?
That's my favorite.
Wow, that was horrifying. We are fucking idiots.
Yeah.
It's been a long week though. Jesus, we just got back. We just got off planes, we're
just landed shit.
we're trying our best here. So thank you so much. More Evel Knievel next week. He's going to be doing way more dumb, crazy shit. He's going to be assaulting people and acting like a lunatic. So we'll get into all of that shit and so much more next week. Don't you worry. You want to follow us on social media? ShutUpAndGiveMeMurder.com. Follow the links to the places you want to go. Keep hanging out with us live from the Crime and Sports Studios. We will see you next week.
Bye.
If you like crime and sports, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.
It takes one guy out there to say, who's that Kyle who thinks he can just get on a microphone on a podcast and start publicizing this?
From iHeart Podcasts and Tenderfoot TV comes a new true crime podcast, Crook County.
I got recruited into the mob when I was 17 years old.
Meet Kenny, an enforcer for the legendary Chicago outfit.
And that was my mission, to snuff the life out of this guy.
He lived a secret double life as a firefighter-paramedic for the Chicago Fire Department.
I had a wife and I had 2 children. Nobody knew anything.
People are dying. Is he doing this every night?
Torn between 2 worlds.
I'm covering up murders that these cops are doing.
He was a freaking crazy man.
We don't know who he is, really.
He is my father, and I had no idea about any of this until now. Welcome to Crook County. Available now. Listen for free on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.